Here we go, here we go, here we go. Another episode of Change Your Pace Sports with alternative views. I'm your host Kay with your co-host Mouse.
What's going on? What's going on?
Got another exciting episode. We'll talk a little bit about NBA playoffs as well, and the effect of the LeBron James era is continuing.
Yes. We've been having an amazing, we compare it as amazing compared to last year's playoffs where it was just sweep city. Everyone had brooms, but now we're having a more competitive and a more interesting playoff. At least pretty much the same results, what we thought, but a different route on how they got there.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's been interesting.
Playoffs have been crazy. A lot of us, still think that the playoffs are going to come down to, for some reason, the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors, and like whoever wins that is probably going to win the championship. But I'm not counting out LeBron James.
Never.
Not at all best of this era. But we've also, speaking of LeBron James, we'll talk about the debate now. A lot of people speaking is LeBron now on par with Michael Jordan as the GOAT. Is he close? Is he getting there? Some people even think LeBron is the GOAT already. We debated about that, but let's jump right into the playoffs talk. So we start off with the Cleveland versus Boston series. I personally have Cleveland winning this in 4. In 6.
I actually have winning in 5, but
Okay.
But I see what you're saying. 6. It is going to be tough to play in Boston. Boston's getting like a big hot. But as I watch Boston play Philly, and where they play like in the young to become superstar Ben Simmons, I didn't see no one really able to guard him when he got to the hole.
Okay.
And I think when you now play a LeBron James who is more dominant, is the superstar of now, it's only going to get harder.
Yeah.
And Al Horford is going to keep him in that series, so that's why I think it could be a good he's going to keep that distance where Love is not going to OD.
Correct.
And he is a good defender, so that's why
I think Boston's the best defense in the league right now, and I think defense is what wins. Well, I don't think defense, but defense wins championships. So defense will at least give Boston a chance against Cleveland. I think Brad Stevens is going to be the best coach in this series.
Yes.
So he'll be able to make adjustments that can give Boston a better chance. And they have better matchups for LeBron, as in Tatum and Brown, a little bit better matchup than in the previous series where Toronto had the rookie OG Anunoby. And OG Anunoby kind of guarded LeBron, which was just a poor matchup. And last year, Boston had Jay Crowder, who was really about 6'5", 6'6", who was a little bit smaller, whereas Tatum and Brown are a little bit bigger than Crowder, a little bit more physical. They're not more physical.
No.
Like Jay Crowder's more physical, but they're bigger and they're a little more athletic than Crowder.
They're kind of better at defending than Crowder, I would say.
I think it's for LeBron.
For LeBron, in a sense.
But I think Cleveland will win it just off of the strength that LeBron. Okay, now I want to get to another notion specifically on this Cleveland thing. I've heard a lot of people say this is the worst team LeBron has had. This is the worst team LeBron has taken to the playoffs and he's dominated with. That's one of the worst takes I've ever heard. I think team that he had way back, his original time with Cleveland with Mo Williams and Varejao.
When he lost in the first round, that one?
Yeah, even when he got to the finals and he was against the Spurs, that team is worse than the team that he has now. What about with Langston Hughes and Eric Snow and Antoine Jameson on the back end? Team is not this. And then this idea that this Cleveland team is much different than it was last year, it is not. If we look at the 7 players that play now, the replacement is really Kyrie Irving for George Hill, and then you kind of take out who's the other player that you virtually take out there? That would have been part of their. Oh, I'm sorry. The other player would have been now Richard Jefferson, that you're more or less replacing now with who's the forward that they use now?
Oh, what's that big boy? The son, Lance?
No. I gotta look at the Cleveland roster. To the point that not Hood. There's another guy that got in there now.
Green.
No, I'm sorry.
Culver was there.
Kobe was
there. But Green
is the guy. Yes.
Green.
Richard Jefferson is virtually replaced by Jeff Green.
Green is a better version of Jefferson.
Probably 5 years younger and a lot more athletic.
But my thing is,
Kyle Korver's still there. J.R. Smith is still there.
How could you say this is the worst team where the first year Warriors won a championship? I think that was the worst team. Where you had Tristan Thompson very young. Yeah. You had what's that? Everybody was rooting off for
Dellavedova. Was basically star point guard when Kyrie got hurt.
James Jones was winning in minutes.
That's just a bad take. And this idea is a bad team. It's the same team. the difference is that the reason a lot of us thought Cleveland was playing bad in the regular season. Well, one, Kevin Love was hurt. Kevin Love is the second best player. Third reason, Kyrie Irving was in his first year removed from Cleveland. That adjustment period, like Kyrie was there for 6-7 years?
Yeah.
And he's a star player. Like the adjustment from losing that type of player, and then the replacement player was Isaiah Thomas and virtually Dwayne Wade. You hope that those together will replace what Kyrie brought to the table. Those are both gone by the second half of the year. The guys that you bring in to replace those guys, Jordan Clarkson and George Hill. First, Jordan Clarkson's never been in the playoffs before.
And Clarkson,
George Hill, now, yes, but George Hill is not the offensive player that is Kyrie Irving. He's not the offensive player that is even Isaiah Thomas. What George Hill is different than they are. He's a better defender than Kyrie and Isaiah Thomas. Hands down. He's a better spot-up shooter than probably both of them. But that takes time for him to adjust to LeBron James. He's never played with LeBron James.
And he's now finally playing. He didn't really play all season.
Correct. He was in Sacramento. He's a little banged up. He was a little hurt.
And then he came here, was a little banged up, a little hurt, barely played. He can get into the second round.
So now that he's getting into his shape, Cleveland's going to look a lot better because he fits well with LeBron James. He doesn't need the ball, and he's a good spot-up shooter, and he's a defender.
And he's played against LeBron a few times while in Indiana.
And another thing, he's actually been in the playoffs.
Yeah,
he has very much so seasoned playoff experience.
And this all I want to bring back to why I feel Cleveland will take this series is Boston's bench. I know we look at it as far as not a lot of superstars, but I think they're going in with like about 7 or 8 healthy players to really play. Like Marcus Smart, you're not sure if he's really going to be healthy all season. Shane Larkin hasn't played the last few games. Their backup point guard is Jaylen Brown at this point, where he is their starting shooting guard. So it's like he has to go out just to come right back in as a backup.
Correct.
And if you don't have an extensive bench playing against a LeBron James team, it's going to be really difficult. Very, very difficult, especially when you're a young, immature team where this is your real first as starters of playoff.
Correct. I do feel like, again, Brad Stevenson, his second year against LeBron, I think him being as smart as he is, he's going to make some adjustments.
Yeah.
The things that Dwayne Casey wouldn't do for 3 straight years against LeBron James. Like we even saw in the Boston series last year, they got beat by I think like 45 or 50 points. It was an ugly loss.
It was a couple of bad games.
The next game, without Isaiah, they were able to beat Cleveland in Cleveland.
Yeah.
That was simply Brad Stevenson making an enormous amount of adjustments and showing those adjustments in the next game. Avery Bradley all them played big, and they won the game after being smoked by 40.
Yeah.
Whereas with Toronto, they didn't make adjustments, it looked like. And I think Brad Stevenson will make those adjustments. That's why I gave them 2 games. I think they should get swept here. Talent for talent, where LeBron and Cleveland is rolling right now, they should get swept.
Probably.
But just Stevenson and the amount of talent Boston has,
They'll give them a little
they
bit more
should get
credit.
at least 1 or 2 games here.
Yeah.
No more than 2, I believe.
And speaking of, before we even leave off Cleveland, that whole situation with Hood refusing to come into the game.
And then Steven Jackson saying like, "Yo, you a bum. You're not even good enough to deny
He
that."
he hasn't done really that much for me to feel like, oh, you know what, let him take a rest.
Yeah.
Between you and Jordan Clarkson, the 2 acquisitions that just secretly has been coming by where you haven't really been putting up the numbers where you're like, oh, that was a good acquisition.
Well, I look at it both ways. I look at it one way is like, you really don't got the cachet to really tell a coach yes or no. Like, and even the people that can, there's only like a handful of players in the league that earn that right. And it's usually superstar franchise. So it's maybe like 10 players that you can name off that really has that cachet to tell coach,
and it has
I'm
to go
going in or I'm coming out.
And then it has to go by the year. So it's like a certain players, like, I don't even think Steph Curry can really say that. You didn't play all year to really be like, oh, I'm not going in. No, bump that. Like, it would have to be
LeBron James, James Harden, Russell Westbrook.
And then the list kind of goes like fades from there.
Very quick. Like, Tony Parker's not telling Popovich, ain't going in no bench.
Durant's still new to this franchise. He can't say none of that.
As big as he started off. So with Rodney Hood, it just looks bad. It's almost like, yo, you just got this job last week, and then you told your manager, nah, I ain't doing that.
You just got probation, then you put your feet up on your coach's desk.
You know what I mean? Like, it just comes off like. But the other side of it is, I always respect the athlete that puts himself first. You know what I mean? Like that Kobe Bryant mentality is like, I don't care if coach doesn't think I can make this shot. I know I can make this shot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if the league thinks I'm a bum. I know I'm that Gilbert Arenas kind of mentality, that Kobe Bryant mentality, Jordan mentality, where it's like, you can't tell me what I feel for myself. how great I think I can be.
But that's an extent. But
it's like, but then, and I love it. But then it's like,
what
have you done? Like what? Like not even in that game. Let's say you had 7 straight threes or something. You have nothing to stand on to be like, yo, I have a sore leg, or I've been putting in so much work. I've been putting in so much minutes. I'm not about to go into no wash time.
I tell you what he done. What he did was, first off, Tyronn Lue is getting always getting played somehow. But what he's done is he's put himself in a situation where it's overseas or D-League at this point. Because it's a good chance nobody's not going to want to touch you, where it's like, oh, you played with LeBron and these dudes told you to come in the court and you're like, nah, I'm good.
Facts. It doesn't look good at all. But I don't think he'll go to G League. I don't think he'll drop that far. Because he's still a very, like, his skill set is still something that a lot of teams would want. He's a 6'8". I think he's like 24. He's a sharpshooter.
But it's a good chance he's not in a competitive team next year.
I think it will be. Because I wouldn't be shocked if a team like Houston snatches him up. Because if he got on a team like Houston, Jesus Christ, he would fit that mold extremely well.
If he wants to come to play.
The reason that he would, because who doesn't want to play for D'Antoni?
That's true.
The reason that he probably is mad with Tyronn Lue is a defensive coach first, so he's going to probably want a Hood to play defense first. Whereas with D'Antoni's going to be what Hood wants. Hood loves to shoot the ball. Yeah. He's almost J.R. Smith from the left-hand side.
But Hood is very good on defense.
He is. But he has a talent.
They don't want to.
So is J.R. Smith. When he wants to, he's a good defender. So I compare Rodney Hood to a left-handed J.R. Smith. Same kind of athleticism and talent. Can really shoot the ball, but not really committed to defensively and not the sharpest IQ-wise. Because this was not a good move on his.
Yeah, you don't do it. Regular season, you could get away with it.
It's going to cost some money. It's going to cost some opportunity.
It's pretty much because they didn't fine him. He had to speak with the general manager. I'm like, yo, if the fact that they didn't fine you, that just tells you you're no longer here.
You're not part of the future plan. Yeah. They just find you to, you know what I'm saying, to let you know that this is what we want with our players.
But they're looking at you as, all right, this is dub.
It's over.
You're here as far as, like, we can't get rid of you now.
And I think he's a free agent. I think he's a restricted free agent. So it's like, they're just not going to match that.
It just makes sense.
Like, whoever goes in and gives him an offer sheet.
But then at the same time, he probably don't want to stay there either, so we'll see.
I think now he does it. Because I think he came into the playoffs thinking that he would get some real minutes off the bench. And he just hasn't. It's been Kyle Korver and J.R. Smith getting those minutes.
He thought he was going to get J.R.'s and probably.
And then even gave Clarkson some minutes, and I think he feels some way that Clarkson has been giving minutes over him. And he just hasn't gotten no minutes.
And Clarkson.
And I think finally, like, Lue basically, the game was over. Was like, all right, go ahead. And he's like, yo, you giving Clarkson over me now? You want to put me? I ain't going in now. He was frustrated. I get it. He's a young player that was probably expecting more to contribute more in the playoffs. He was waiting all year for this, and now he doesn't get the chance to. And then basically Tyronn Lue was like, all right, you can go in now and play. The game's already over. He was like, yo, don't put me in now when the whole series you wasn't trying to put me in. So he felt offended. Which I can understand from a competitive player's point of view. Like, don't put me in when it means nothing. When I expect to be in there when the minutes is like really important.
But as far as a job, he failed at his job.
Yeah, you got to respect authority.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
But it happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've seen Kobe flare up before. We've seen stars flare up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we've seen Dwayne Wade get his smokeshoes face during the game. So we've seen stars flare up. But the problem with this is Rodney Hood is not a star. That's where this whole thing falls down on itself. Like, you've never made an all-star appearance.
He was a college star.
You're not even a top 10 pick. Like, it was like he was a star in college.
Yeah, he was on a lot.
Like, he wasn't even a star on your team. I think he was on the John Wall Kentucky Wildcats. Like, you wasn't even one of them. Oh, speaking of John Wall, you're on the TV right now.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
One of the worst first pitches I've ever seen. 50 Cent level.
And then we have on the west side, we had the Golden State Warriors
against, I'm extremely excited.
The Houston Rockets, where I think you're not necessarily wrong with which way you feel, but I personally I would like to see Houston win. I think that'd be really dope. I think that'd be interesting. But I think if Houston wins, it makes it an interesting finals with them against the Cavs. But I still think that you go with the defending champs.
Yeah.
Mainly, the Warriors have the best one coming in. Yeah. You have a Steph Curry who's pretty much the healthiest player, in the most freshest player, I should say, out of everyone playing, because he just now recently started coming back in, and he's
true. But what's another notion I realized? Like, throughout the year, like, Kevin Durant missed time, Klay Thompson missed time.
Yeah.
Steph Curry missed time. And in my head, I wasn't looking at it like they were hurt. I was looking at it more like this is manual rest. Because they're in this for championships. They're not in this for like regular season victory. So the freshest that they can be come playoff time, the more scary that team gets playoff time.
Mm-hmm.
So all those games, like say Klay Thompson missed maybe 3 weeks worth of games. If he really cared, he could have probably missed 2 games and come right back. But then they took him out for another 7 games and be like, yo, rest.
I remember he had the finger injury, and then they showed him in practice banging buckets with his left. So it's not like he needed to be there. And I think they learned a lot from last year.
Yeah.
Where that big series, the year before that, sorry, where they had the record but couldn't get it done. And they started realizing like the regular
season all the way through and they mashed out to the end and then they just lost it because they had to go through Durant and OKC in 7 games. So then when they had to play LeBron in 7, you could tell they just didn't have it no more.
It was just
they played so hard to win the 73 games, and then you had to go through such a rough playoffs.
And then I think also the Warriors looked at themselves. They had to. I think Warriors didn't give themselves as much credit as everyone else see them. I think they felt that they had to play that hard. They didn't realize you became one of those top tier teams where you can kind of coast a little bit because you need to save it for the playoffs.
I think
you're a type of team where you have a longevity of playoff games. You have at least 16 games.
Like you're playing 100 games. You're not playing just 82.
Yeah, you're not.
So you have to factor for that.
You can't think of it as I might make first or six rounds.
Compared to the regular season, it might be like 50 regular season games.
Yeah,
like just the intensity of those playoff games.
And then how they changed the format this year compared to the last couple of years. These teams are getting more rest.
Yeah.
So then now you mix it up with the rest.
I don't like. I haven't seen a playoff game now like 2 nights. And I'm tight. I'm tight.
I think the first one starts in Monday.
It's like why I gotta wait a whole weekend to see playoff basketball again? Like I'm suffering right now. I don't know what to watch.
Yeah, so that's why I just think that the Warriors have like a good shot, and then you come from a Houston team where, all right, you have a James Harden where he wants his revenge against the Warriors.
Yeah,
off that where he didn't finish out, but then now you got a Chris Paul. This is his first time even reaching this far.
That's a fact. But shout out to Chris Paul. Man.
So it's like
I'm so happy for Chris Paul.
It's like you can see how he ended that last game. He was like, I'm going in. I'm not. There's no way we're losing this game. He's been here before, where he's been up in the series and they lost it.
Yo, I think this is one of those all right, like every few years we get like a series that's just a very good series. Like I think a couple years ago we had saw the Miami Heat play the Boston Celtics when it was almost like the changing of the guard. The big three had to finally get through the big three of Boston. Like that was a great series. You saw Rondo bend his elbow back and then play with one arm. It was an extremely good series. Even like the Miami and the Spurs series a couple years ago where Ray Allen hit the big shot. That was just a great series. I think this is going to be one of those. This Houston versus Golden State because of all the elements. So Chris Paul was basically the best point guard of his generation. Steph Curry virtually dethroned him of that. They go head to head. They consider Klay Thompson the best two-way shooting guard in the league. James Harden's been saying, I'm the best two guard in the league for years. He gets to go now match to match against Klay for the entire series.
People really forget James Harden really can play defense. Yeah. He chooses not to sometimes, but now this year he's been...
In college, he was an all defensive player. He came to the league.
He got drafted by OKC for his defense, man.
Like he was known to be a slick offensive player, but he was an all college defensive player. So people forget that now because in Houston, his burden is to be the entire offense. From day one, he had to do everything. Remember the Chandler Parsons days where it was just James Harden brings it up, him and Chandler Parsons kind of play pick and roll with each other.
And to bring into that with the series. Oh, sorry, go
ahead.
Yeah. I think the most interesting matchup is going to be Clint Capella and Draymond Green.
Correct. I was even going to get to that. Like the matchups keep getting more thirsty. Like for instance, you got Kevin Durant against Trevor Ariza. Like Ariza doesn't like Kevin Durant. They've had like fits throughout the years.
So this is gonna be.
So this is another good match. Capella and Green, a great matchup. Now you got Eric Gordon and Andre Iguodala, two of the best 6 men in the entire league, coming off the bench and now competing against each other.
And then you also even bring into
and now the coach side. That's where to me it gets even legendary. Now what people fail to realize: Steve Kerr's first year with the Warriors, D'Antoni was his head associate coach to help him come up with a modern version of the triangle offense. The offense that you see the Warriors make is a blend of Phil Jackson triangle offense and Mike D'Antoni 7 seconds or less offense. That's what the Warriors run, and that's why it's special. That is a generational offense. So now Kerr gets to almost play against one of his mentors at D'Antoni, the father of the modern offense with the most dominant version of that he has.
Mm-hmm.
This is a more dominant than Phoenix Suns team with Chris Paul being the best point guard that he's ever had, because Chris Paul is better than Steve Nash. I understand a lot of people want to say as an MVP and all that, but Steve Nash is not the level that Chris Paul has always been. Chris Paul was, from the time he was in college, was considered second coming out of Isaiah Thomas, whereas Steve Nash was actually a soccer star coming out of college.
Yeah.
He was a sports star that had to back up behind Jason Kidd and Kevin Johnson in Phoenix when he got drafted. Whereas Chris Paul, from day one, was considered one of the best players.
And I could be a little ignorant, or maybe I'm mistaken, but I always thought Chris Paul was a better shooter and defender than Nash.
Actually, he's not.
See,
Steve Nash
I could be wrong.
Steve Nash came in as a sharpshooter.
Okay.
From day one, he always could shoot, but he had to learn some of the other things. He was a sharpshooter from day one.
Okay.
Whereas Chris Paul, the only weakness that he had coming out of college was a jump shot.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is, like, there was a line that Joel Ortiz had said way back, "Y'all brothers got to get better like Chris Paul and Jay."
Mm-hmm.
So it was a thought that, like, once he got that, because he had a standstill jumper,
mm-hmm.
but he couldn't go off the dribble and shoot.
Okay.
Once he started to develop that in New Orleans, then he was like the guard.
Yeah.
He started being called a point guard. And they first saw that it was a series against Tony Parker when it finally looked like he had put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with Steve Nash, you saw that with Phoenix under D'Antoni when he finally put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
So for like Chris Paul, he been had it together before he saw D'Antoni.
Mm-hmm.
The point I'm making with the comparison. So D'Antoni now gets Chris Paul. I knew it was going to work.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't have James Harden there, Chris Paul and like D'Antoni would have had an amazing run together.
Yeah.
So now you put the James Harden on top of that with D'Antoni. This is D'Antoni's best situation for his system.
And this Chris Paul, like you're finding he has a player of a superstar talent who's not getting hurt like Blake.
Not to mention, I don't think Blake is on the level of James Harden.
No, I'm not even saying.
I don't think he's on that level.
I'm just saying in the fact that he has a person that's with him that's in a good level, that a matchup level where it's like a star with you.
Correct.
That's actually able to be.
First time that
he has a person with
better than Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think
where like Chris Paul could really chill.
He's always been the best player on all of his teams. This
Mm-hmm.
is the first time I think Chris Paul is honestly not the best player on his team, and that's scary for the league.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because if Blake Griffin had reached his peak, that Clippers team might have been able to compete with the Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for Blake, Blake's injuries limited his development.
So who you got? I got Warriors taking.
I got the Warriors in 6. Why? Because defense against still wins championships.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that the Warriors are, they're the best defensive team in the West.
I still feel Houston can win, but I still got.
I think Houston can win because it's game for game and it's matchups.
Yeah.
And the fact that I think D'Antoni is a good enough coach.
But I think if it goes to 7, I give it to Houston. If it goes to 6, I give it to Warriors.
If it goes 7, I'm still going to Golden State. The championship credibility, I think, makes them win tough games in the back end.
That's true.
But if Houston's able to snatch a game in Golden State early, there's a better chance of Houston winning in 6 than Houston winning in 7.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Whereas I think, again, it's about D'Antoni.
Yeah,
if D'Antoni's system is if Draymond Green and Iguodala and Kevin Durant aren't defensively able to make any kind of strides against Houston, Houston has a chance. But I think the thing that makes Golden State the winner is because of defense. You're not going to stop them offensively, and Houston is not a defensive team, but Houston is a much improved defensive team that nobody wants to give credit to.
Mm-hmm.
That's why this is really a series.
I think they were
PJ Tucker,
top
Capella,
5, top 10 in defense this year.
Trevor Ariza, and even Chris Paul. These are 4+ defenders. Chris Paul is an elite defender. Capella's an elite defender. Tucker and Ariza are not elite, but they're beyond good. They are beyond good defenders. Even James Harden in that system now is forced to go back to his ability to play defense. So they have 5 guys on the court now that can definitely defend and switch off against those Warriors. And the other side of it is, offensively, they can make the Splash Brothers work. If Steph Curry and Klay Thompson get in foul trouble, that's what can make this series hard. Because Steph can't guard Chris Paul man-to-man. Chris Paul can't guard Steph Curry man-to-man. But Chris Paul can actually get to a level where he affects Steph Curry because he's an elite defender.
Yeah, he's going to get him in the post.
He can affect him.
Because if he starts getting him into the post, he's going to get him in foul trouble.
Fact, where Steph cannot affect Chris Paul. He cannot.
It's going to be a dope series, man.
Legendary series. Yeah. So moving on, let's talk a little bit about legacy here. Speaking of LeBron James. So a lot of people start debating that this might be LeBron's greatest playoff run. No. I think it's great to watch. Like, I think it's been great to watch. Like, the game winners, LeBron, doing his thing. It's been great to watch. It might have been some of the best LeBron basketball to watch. But as far as his best playoff run, no. I think his best playoff run would have been his first year back with Cleveland.
Mm.
Even though they didn't win the championship, that was, I think, his best playoff run. I think he averaged like 40, 15, and 12 in the finals.
He averaged more. He was the top. They was thinking of giving him MVP for losing.
Yeah, so don't give me this. Like, and then he swept Toronto, and I had a lot of people saying that he swept the number 1 seed. He's never did that before. Most of us don't look at Toronto as a true number 1 seed. And I'm not knocking it like they didn't win that, like they didn't earn that. Last year, I didn't think of the Boston Celtics as a true number 1 seed. I thought like Isaiah Thomas had a phenomenal season, and they as a group had a phenomenal season. I didn't think of the Boston like, oh, they should win a championship because they got the number 1 seed. You know what I mean? So I don't look at Toronto that way. So when I look at LeBron sweeping them, I thought that he should have swept them.
It's hard to say.
They had a rookie guarding it.
It's hard for a number 1 to call a number 1 team in the East when you have a LeBron James who doesn't generally play for the wins in the regular season when you know he's going for the playoffs.
Like, he's behind that. But LeBron James, back when he originally was in Cleveland, they would have number 1 seed like 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to prove every game that I'm that guy. He was trying to build himself up. Now that he already knows that, he's taking games off, man. Like, in the regular season, this time he's on that bench like, yo, we're down 10. We don't need this win.
I just think this year was a little bit more of a struggle for him, just in fact of with the whole he had to play more. I think he played 82 games this season for the first time.
But that was his goal. But that was on him.
Yeah, so it's like, and then it makes it more interesting because he actually really needed to play a lot of more minutes for the fact of when the new team came in, they needed some time to transition into this offense.
So he had to be out there.
He had to be out there to your bet. All right, the East was looking really good, and like we ain't that. I can't take that much of a coast because we could easily drop off this thing if I'm not playing.
And I don't think this was a bad team this year. Like, a lot of people want to say that Cleveland had a bad team this year. Yeah, they had bad chemistry. There's a difference between chemistry and talent. Like, let's say the first 3-4 years that he was in Cleveland, those teams didn't have not nearly the talent that he had this year. Like, think about the players that were on this team. Derrick Rose, Dwayne Wade, Jeff Green, Kyle Korver. And then look back at those teams that had, like, Mo Williams and Ricky Davis and Varejao, Carlos Boozer before he was even a player. You know what I mean? Like, they were bad, like, not bad. They were underwhelming talent-wise. And LeBron had to, learn to become super and put the team on his back. Whereas with the team now, like, LeBron could have got hurt. And some of these players would have still been able to step their game up and win. Like, Derrick Rose could still get 20 every night. We saw that with Minnesota. He scored 16 off the bench in the playoffs. You think if he's given 35 minutes, he still can't give you 20-something points? The same with Dwayne Wade. We've seen him score 20 off the bench in the playoffs. You think if he didn't need to, he couldn't win? Like, these are Mo Williams and Langston Hughes and Eric Snow, Andre Varejao and Zunis Lagauskas. Yeah. Like, these guys ain't the same level of talent. What they had a problem with all year was chemistry. Yeah. And then their coach got sick and had to, step away from the bench for a while. That's why they struggled. I don't tell. Jordan Clarkson is as good as Mo Williams. And that's their 8th best player right now?
Barely. So it's like, I think a lot of people's watching it because they're looking at his age, and now I think they're giving him credit, so they just forget of the last few years of how great he's been. And it's like, I still think he's a living legend playing right now. Yeah. Like, I hate the comparisons. Oh, this person. This is 2 different eras. You can't put the same. Like, the same way I said LeBron would not be the same player then, Jordan would be a different player in this era too. Correct. So it's like, you have to respect and give respect where it's like, he's the best player on the court.
In the first generation. So, and I had a lot of people say, like, all right, so, and I think it's fun to argue who's the GOAT. I think that's what we all, like, grow up in the cafeterias, the barbershops, when we at gym and we argue about who's the best player in the NBA or who's the best player ever. It's good for argument's sake, and it gets you a chance to at least give your views on what's a good basketball player and what's not. So, in that sense, it's fair to, at least argue, is LeBron James approaching Jordan? Is LeBron James close to Jordan? To me, that answer is no. Like, it's not even, like, close right now. The reason I say it's not close right now is because, like, for me, Jordan, first off, went through greater competition. So for, I think, the younger generation that didn't get a chance to see Jordan play, what they really missed was not really Jordan playing. They missed the competition that he had to go through. So when you look at teams like the Patrick Ewing Knicks that could have probably won a championship, went to 2 finals. You look at the Reggie Miller Indiana Pacers that went to a finals in the late 90s that had to go through Jordan. You look at, I'm trying to think of all the Eastern Conference teams. You have the Miami Heat team with Alonzo Mourning and Tim Hardaway. Went to several Eastern Conference games. You had the Shaquille O'Neal and the Penny Hardaway Orlando Magic that actually went to the finals.
Mm-hmm.
So you have just those 4 teams in the Eastern Conference that were virtually championship teams that in maybe this era could have possibly won a championship. During LeBron's era, what team in the Eastern Conference did you feel was a championship caliber team that past this era we'll look back on and say they were a championship caliber team? There virtually is none. There virtually is none. So we look at like the Boston Celtics teams.
A couple of seasons with them.
Like you had the Boston Celtics teams in like the original time, but he never went through them in his Cleveland time.
Yeah.
So when he did go through them in Miami, he had to join up with the same people that he was competing with, which is Dwayne Wade in Miami, Chris Bosh in Toronto, to beat Boston. Mm-hmm. So that's like Jordan now joining up with Patrick Ewing in New York to beat Reggie Miller in Indiana. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I can't now respect that now. Mm-hmm. So you take that one out. Mm-hmm. Who was the other team? So yeah, you have to go through the Detroit Pistons. So that's equivalent to Michael Jordan having to get through the same Detroit Pistons in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Fine, that's a wash. But now you have 4 more teams. Shaq Orlando, Patrick Ewing's New York, Alonzo Mourning's Miami, and there was other team I mentioned.
Atlanta.
No.
Even Atlanta won.
Even Atlanta. Kevin Mutombo and
Atlanta back then.
Mookie Blaylock. Even the Charlotte Hornets, the original before that with Alonzo Mourning and Larry Johnson. You could put in that video.
Didn't Atlanta win one when Jordan retired?
No.
Who's the one that won one when Jordan retired? No, Houston.
Well, Houston.
Houston.
But that's on the West side.
That's West side, my bad.
And the West even had, again, more dominant teams. You had, again, Olajuwon. You had Karl Malone and the Jazz. Teams that were legitimate championship teams at Portland with Clyde Drexler.
Yeah.
Championship teams. Whereas, like, right now during LeBron's era, we could almost take off our hand the championship caliber teams that actually was in that time. San Antonio Spurs, Golden State Warriors.
OKC had a run.
You can't say, because they never won nothing.
Yeah, I'm saying,
they had the one finals, and it's like, that's on the what? All right.
It's what could have been if they stayed.
Correct, but they never did.
But I said, you're giving a little sparkle, but and even with the Spurs, besides the Spurs and Warriors, that's really too much. Has been his challenge.
So I mean, for me, and then the Dallas team. The Dallas team actually beat him in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
yeah.
So you have a couple of teams, but it's like there's not nearly the same level of competition. That's the reason, one, I don't think he touched Jordan. The second part about it is the stats that Jordan has are unrealistic. Like, he has a defensive player of the year. He was an all-defensive team player, I think, something like 15 years. Mm-hmm. Like, LeBron is not going to be on that this year. Mm-hmm. It's just, we all know, he's rated like, I think, 301 out of 393 players in defensive win shares. Mm-hmm. Like, that's poor. Like, if you would have talked about that about J.R. Smith, you would say that he's a turnstile defensively. Mm-hmm. But because of LeBron James, we know that he could turn up and let it go. Yeah. And we know that he was doing so much more offensively. But in reality, it's like, that second part about it, I'm not going to give it to you. Like, Jordan was an elite defender all the way to his back end. He was on the first team defense in 98, his last year with the Bulls. So, all right, that's, and then the third side about it is championships. If you're going to say you're the best, you got to beat the best. And beating the best means winning championships. So for LeBron, I admit you got like 7 finals. But you lost more than Jordan ever did. By a lot. Like, Jordan, I think, is 6-0. LeBron is like, what, 3-4?
I think 3-3.
He's 3-4. I think.
3-4.
3-4.
Yeah.
You've lost 4 times, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't bang with that. Like, so those 3 things alone. So for me, if LeBron wins 3 more, so now he has 6 championships and he got to 4 more than Jordan, to me, it's like you got to reintroduce the conversation. At least start to say, like, how close is LeBron right there? Mm-hmm. But for me right now, as it stands, he's not close.
I have a different opinion on it. I don't think I can really put someone near a next level, because if you say LeBron to Jordan to Chamberlain, this person to that person.
Well, I do agree, but I argue to the point I also say that there's certain players that are all on the same level. So, I don't think Jordan is the undisputed GOAT.
Yeah.
I still also put Kareem Abdul-Jabbar right next to him.
Yeah.
And then underneath that is there's like Oscar Robinson, Magic Johnson.
But this is me. My thing is, when I say close, I'm like, they're in the same club.
Yeah, same tier. So I don't believe it's the greatest ever.
Yeah, so
I think there's a greatest ever tier.
So, like, I feel that, like, LeBron James steps into the building, he might have first floor level or second floor. Yeah. Whereas, like, some of the other guys might be on that presidential suite within the 3rd and 4th floor. So that's what I mean in that sense. So, to to disrespect or say like LeBron is not this, not that. It's like, do you understand? You're still talking about a person who's in a house that y'all can't even get in.
Correct. So I mean, look at like levels. Let's say like I think like Kobe Bryant is, let's say, level 3. LeBron has now got to level 4.
Yeah, like LeBron is still like LeBron surpassed Kobe.
Correct. Like, and Kobe is a Hall of Famer and one of the greats to ever do it. That had to go through these steps and these levels. And he's above a lot of other supreme players.
You know what? The best way I can put it, and I know it to me is, as far as like football, right? Wide receiver stats. Okay. I don't think no one in human history is gonna pass Jerry Rice because
it's gonna be hard.
But then you got like a LeBron who's like T.O. or Randy Moss, where it's like you're closer.
Yeah,
you're the closest. And I think you're gonna have that 10,000 yards.
Correct. I mean, like,
but you're not getting that 17,000 yards because you have to play another 10 years, and that's not gonna happen.
Correct.
But that's what I mean.
And I think part of it is like LeBron has missed that boat already.
Yeah,
and it's like I'm not saying he can't.
But he's at the age of...
But it's like Jordan had his prime, he did what he did.
Yeah.
LeBron, you kind of had your prime already, and now we saw what you did.
And then I'm also going to put why I put LeBron closer into this situation is I think Jordan had something that LeBron didn't have. Better coaching.
Hall of Fame coach and Hall of Fame players that grew up with him.
Yeah.
Like Scottie Pippen came up with him. Like LeBron never had somebody that... Like well, you had... We could have had Kyrie. But
that was more of a forced situation rather than of... Like, it was built around like, oh, we are together. I think you're not signing Michael Jordan to an extension without signing Scottie next week to the same exact extension. Might not be the same dollar value, but the same years. Like, all right, he got 6 years, he's getting 6 years. And where that's the only where I put, like, what Michael did have. Michael had that all-star. Like, he has a Hall of Fame coach and GM. And that's a big difference where in those games where LeBron probably could have won or could have succeeded, he didn't have that coach where it's like, let's draw up this game plan. Like, we spoke constantly about that final against Toronto, that game 3. We felt that it should have been a track. Like, there's no way you let the best player on the court walk it down.
We'll get into that. That's why Dwayne Casey got fired. He got fired for that series.
Man, we can go into that now, I guess, if you continue more with this. But yeah, more of this LeBron is like, that's why I just feel like he's in that house.
Yeah.
And he's been in that house for a while. He just changed floors.
But I think that
this year we changed floors.
We get impatient. Like we know where he is now, and we just gotta be patient to see how far he gets.
Yeah.
But like it's gonna take years for him to get off of the level he is. Like he's on this level now. He got into it. Give him his time to see if he could probably reach the next level. But it takes years to get past this level.
I wish I was more like I know I watched Michael a lot when I was younger, but I was not more into into the media. I wonder if they spoke about Michael while he was playing.
Yeah,
is he the greatest player ever?
Oh, he did.
Is he this? Like when he lost. Excuse me. Was he? Oh, he's no Kareem.
Oh, that's okay. He used to be Magic.
Oh, he's no Magic.
He's no Magic. He's no Dr. J. Those are the two names that they will bring up that he's not them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that Jordan can't win a championship like Magic. Like Jordan can't make players around him better like Magic.
But the only thing I give, the reason why I still think Michael is still above him is just the different part of competitive nature. Where I just remember this one.
The whole Miami move.
That's true.
That's dope.
With the one situation where it just still holds me was like, yo, this is amazing. I remember when they were playing during the Dream Team era.
Mm-hmm.
They had an argument when him and Mutombo spoke. And they had an argument where Mutombo was like, you never dunked on me.
That's a fact.
And he was like, I never dunked on you? I know I dunked on you. He said, you never dunked on me. He goes, no problem.
Yeah, that's also game.
Goes into the season. Yeah. He dunks on Mutombo.
That's a fact.
And then waves the finger. Just like, I remember this. Like, I told you I was going to dunk on you.
I think that was 97.
And I don't think I have any story of LeBron just like, oh, I'm about to hit this game or something like that. I don't think that's the only difference where
I seen a story like that the other day though.
Okay.
Where Gilbert Arenas on his podcast was like, it was after a timeout and LeBron James had told him you gonna miss that free throw, and then I'm gonna pass it to Damon Jones and you gonna lose. he told him on the free throw line and literally Gilbert misses the second free throw. LeBron comes down, he passes to Damon Jones in the court. Damon Jones hits the 3 and he's like, yo, game over. He's like, LeBron talked that shit before it even happened and he did it to us.
Beautiful.
So it's like LeBron is that guy. To get to that level, he has to have some of that in him.
You gotta have that.
But to kind of end it, LeBron is the go to his time, and it's we'll see how great he does come, and let's see if he can win a championship this year. I can get it going in the right direction.
Yeah, I think winning a championship this year would be really amazing because you're playing against two guys coming out the West. Everything is coming in.
And I think this is what builds up. Almost like when he bet Cleveland a couple years ago. The reason that we all loved it so much is because the whole world predicted that he would have lost that. They won the most games ever. Like you,
that wasn't for you to win at all.
You know what I'm saying? Then you win that, and then you have the iconic the chase down block on Iggy.
No, on
Iguodala, chase down block. It was iconic. Kyrie hits the big shot. So it was almost like Jordan again, where Jordan passes it to Paxton. Or Steve Kerr hits the shot, and like Jordan wins the glory. It's the same kind of moment. Yeah. That's his glory moment. But he needs that again this year. Yeah. He needs that. So moving on, we get into the speaking of coaching and like coaches. Let's go into like the coaching situation right now. We had some head coaches that got fired.
We got the one that you believe should have got fired, mainly because of the Donovan Mitchell pick for Stan Van Gundy.
Yes. So I'll quickly go into that very quickly. I went through the draft process. I looked at Donovan Mitchell as a combination of Marcus Smart and Gary Harris. That's Denver Nuggets shooting guard Gary Harris. That's Boston Celtics guard Marcus Smart. If you watch Donovan Mitchell in college, he was a very aggressive defender, but he was also what you call a nut from the three-point line. Unconscious. He never saw a three-point shot that he couldn't take. So if you look at that, that reminded me a lot of Gary Harris with the Denver Nuggets, and it also reminded me a lot of Marcus Smart, the way he's a very aggressive, winning-style basketball player. And now you translate that to the league. The only reason that he fell past the top 10 is a lot of people say, like, oh, I know nobody knew. Because he was 2 years older than everybody else. He came out as a junior and 21 years old. As Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz, Jason Tatum, Josh Jackson, Darren Fox. They're all 19-year-old freshmen. Yeah. So their potential looks way higher than Donovan Mitchell, who's 2 years older than him. So that's why he fell back. Now, I thought that he should have never fell past either Charlotte or Detroit. Charlotte, because Charlotte has struggled to have a playmaker outside of Kemba Walker. I thought it would make sense, whereas like they went with Malik Monk, which is like I felt like Malik Monk is Jamal Crawford. He's going to be able to score a lot of points. He's a supreme athlete, but he's not going to be a great franchise type player.
He's going to be that great complementary player.
Correct. Whereas Donovan Mitchell to me was a complete player. Mm-hmm. He's a two-way player. So to me, Charlotte messed up. Then I thought Detroit, fell in line with an amazing pick, and they picked Luke Kennard, which I don't think is like Luke Kennard was a bad player for. I think he shouldn't have went that high. I had him more or less 17, 18, 19 loaded on the draft. Secondly, you had Reggie Jackson in place that has been injury prone. You needed another point guard. So rather than you draft Donovan Mitchell, who plays both guard positions. He's really an off guard that has point guard abilities. Mm-hmm. So that he would even be able to play with Reggie Jackson on the court together. There would have been a good matchup for them.
They could have really looked like Blazers with Damian Lillard and CJ.
Exactly that. Or even Utah with Rubio and Mitchell. Mm-hmm. It would have been the same idea again. But for some reason. And then Stan continued to make moves and it makes sense. You traded Tobias Harris. Who I don't understand why he never seemed to love Tobias Harris, who would give you nothing but I call Tobias the poor man's Melo. Yeah. 19-8. He's gonna get you threes. He can score from everywhere, and he's a decent rebounder.
And he was having a good season this year.
He is the floor spreader for Andre Drummond. And then he's the actual complement player you need. And then you trade him for Blake, who just signed a deal that all of us thought was a little bit crazy. Like you gave him a long-term deal, and he's never been healthy. So the deal now looks like almost the Amari Stoudemire deal to the Knicks. Whereas like we're all like, we know your talent. But with this deal, it might not make it through with you being healthy.
I just didn't get it. Like we've never seen we've seen now a Blake who can't dunk on nobody.
Not even that. Like again, we've seen Blake with DeAndre Jordan for the last 4 years, and it has not been successful in the West. Yeah, the best point guard, and it wasn't successful. So Andre Drummond is almost the same version of DeAndre Jordan. Like they're the same player. They're great rebounders, great rim protectors, and lob catchers.
And can't shoot free throws. So it's like
no post game, no offensive skills, lob catchers. So wait, you gonna bring in Blake to play the same position that he was just playing?
And then you take a poor man's Chris Paul with Reggie Jackson, because he can't stay healthy.
And Reggie Jackson's actually not really a point guard. Like he's a scorer more than anything. He's more Damian Lillard than he is Chris Paul.
I think And then you pick up the best person he picked up was the Bradley. I think that was a good pickup.
He didn't really pick that up. The Celtics tried to trade him off to get the cap space to sign Gordon Hayward.
I think that was.
And I thought that was again.
But I thought
if you were going to pick up Avery Bradley, why would you drive Donovan Mitchell?
But I thought Harris would have made sense for Bradley in that situation. Then to trade him for Blake, I just didn't get it. Where it's like one can give you at least 77 games, the other one probably gives you 52.
And I think what went wrong there was he should never been a GM and a coach. Like, that is not for everybody to be a GM and a coach. First and foremost, Stan Van Gundy never won a championship. I don't believe that anybody should to take on a role of developing a team when you've never developed a team to the highest level. Like, he was in the finals with Orlando and Dwight Howard, which a lot of people felt like Dwight Howard was just playing out of his mind that year. A lot of people felt like Dwight Howard was the MVP. They gave it to Derrick Rose because Derrick Rose was more flashy. But a lot of people felt like Dwight Howard was playing out of his mind. Dwight Howard being compared to Shaq is the reason Orlando made the finals. Is the reason that a lot of people felt like once he went to LA, him and Kobe would have been a dynasty again. But Dwight Howard had a back injury. Back injuries take away your athleticism, and he never recovered from that.
We'll still average a double-double this year.
But he would never get back to his athleticism off of that back injury. It never happened. Back in the day, that back injury used to be a career ender. But then the fact that he's still playing basketball...
I'm glad you brought that up. Because now you would think he had a Howard, right? Who at his prime was one of the best players.
And that's what a lot of people Drummond is compared to Howard.
But I'm saying that in the sense of, and then injuries took him off that high pedal. So you get a person like
in the bad, he was David Gundy Howard.
But then now you get a person as Blake Griffin, who was at that top tier, where you're just like, wow, he could be super talented. And then you see the injuries take him off, where jump shots had to be his primary of his game. And then you make the trade for the player, so you just went for with Howard. You can Masters just went to Charlotte and got Howard back. Because you're getting a person that's not at their superpower talent.
I mean, long story short, I think Stan just made a lot of poor moves there. He cost himself his job there. So, I mean, that's Detroit?
Yes.
Now, so for Detroit, the players that I have in mind for them, I have two names in my head. One is Jerry Stackhouse. I think Jerry Stackhouse definitely deserves a head coaching job. I think he's one of the better candidates. And he's a former Detroit Piston. His two best years in the league, his two All-Star years with the Pistons. So I think he would be a good fit. The other guy is Mark Jackson.
You can always put Mark Jackson in.
I think Mark Jackson, he's a coach that would instill a defensive culture. And I think the players that they have now that Stan has left there, they need defense first. Because offense is not going to be what they can win off of. Yeah. When you have Blake, Reggie Jackson, Luke Kennard, and Drummond, you're not going to be an offensive juggernaut. So you need somebody to come in there with a defensive culture.
Your best scorer is going to be Kennard. You don't know how many games Blake going to give you.
So it's like maybe Mike Budenholzer is a good option for them. Yeah. I think he would be a great pickup. But I don't know if he would want that job.
It's an interesting situation. Yeah. And then you're gonna first going in, you're gonna have to get yourself a guard.
You need GM too. I mean, I'm actually available. Detroit, Jalen Rose, I heard is available. You know what I'm saying?
We also had the Phoenix Suns pick up Igor Kokoskov, the Jazz former assistant.
That's an interesting name, right there. That's an interesting name.
Coco. The Suns, I guess you can't go wrong with whoever you pick because that Suns team, I just think the Suns is a team where you just draft players, not really develop.
The Suns' problem is similar to the Knicks' problem. When you continuously fire people,
no one's developing.
You force those lottery players to be put in almost as ambiguous. Like, because now the next guy that comes in wants his own players too, and that continues this like. Because it's a different vision each time. So let's say the first coach drafts Marquise Chris and Devin Booker, and he thinks that those are his future. Then that guy gets fired. The next guy drafts Jordan Bender and Alex Lynn, and he has a vision with those guys. And then he gets fired. Then the third guy comes and tries to make a vision for all those players. But then he drafts Josh Jackson. And how does he fit in now? And now it becomes a continuum of none of these players get developed because it's a bunch of different visions and it takes years to develop. So if every time you restart that process, you're making them restart their process. So I think for the Suns, it's like, and I hope this guy does well. He's the first European-born head coach in the NBA history. He's from Serbia. He was an international star in international play. So he's kind of good coach. He's paid his bones. He was an assistant with Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't think it's coaching because I think Earl Watson was a good coach. I think Earl Watson was a bright mind. I think that it takes the entire structure to work.
2 years,
it takes a GM that's with the coach, and everybody's on board. And I think it takes a lot because the franchise player Eric Bledsoe wasn't on board with Watson, and that cost Watson his job, and Bledsoe got traded away. But then nobody's there now. Y'all basically got rid of everything, and now you got to start over again. So that's that situation.
Yeah, that's
moving on. We had Charlotte Hornets. They finally they let go of Steve Clifford, who had been there for 5 years. He got them to the playoffs, I believe.
Yeah, and they picked up James Borrego,
someone.
Yeah, James Borrego,
former assistant coach with the Spurs, another European coach with high credentials. I think this is a good pickup. But I'm not sure with Charlotte. Everything that I see happen out of Charlotte confuses me.
They've been trying to trade Kemba. They want to do this. I don't know what they want to do.
Again, like their drafting has been bad. Frank Kaminsky, I think, was underdeveloped. The fact that they traded for Willie Hernangomez from the Knicks, I thought that trade didn't make any sense. When you have a Frank Kaminsky that you underdeveloped and you have a Dwight Howard there, so now you bring in another player that needs to develop and there's no minutes for him. But I think if Dwight leaves and would you have Frank Kaminsky, Willie Hernangomez, Nick Batum, I think they have talent there. But it's again, the whole structure doesn't seem right. And it requires the whole structure to be right for a team to be successful. So, I mean, we'll see how that works out. Shout out to Michael Jordan, the GOAT. See if he can figure it out over there. Kemba from the Bronx, New York City. So we'll see how James Borrego works out there. I think he's a good coach. I don't know how that fit works out.
Yeah, then we had
moving on, we had Memphis.
Yes, picking up the son Bickerstaff.
JB Bickerstaff. All right. He was an intern, but apparently he has a good relationship with the star Marc Gasol after David Fizdale was fired there because he clearly had a problem with the star Marc Gasol. So Fizdale comes in. I'm not sure again about this situation. I really do feel like a team like the Grizzlies have a chance to. I think I think of the Grizzlies being in a supreme position like the Spurs were when they was able to draft David Tim Duncan. You had a year in which y'all might end up with the number 1 pick, but y'all are not a team that's that far from competing. Y'all still have Mike Conley, one of the best point guards in the league. You still got Marc Gasol, one of the best centers in the league. And now you get a top 5 pick. Now you get to add Mo Bamba, who I think is going to be a supreme player. You can add maybe Luka Doncic out of Europe. Or you can add Ayton, who I think is going to be the next Joel Embiid, who will be Cousins, Hakeem Olajuwon type of player. So I think Memphis has a great chance of next year being the thick of things. And I don't think you bring in a rookie coach for that. To me, it's like you go after somebody that was a more senior-ready coach, like a Mark Jackson. Who's the other more senior names that were out there? Let me go look through this list a little bit.
Stackhouse.
Jason Kidd. I thought maybe Jason Kidd would have been the perfect situation, like a coach that's ready to win now and has the players in peace, the veterans. So I think Jason Kidd would have made the most sense for Memphis. But now they go with a rookie. Like his father was a head coach, and he was an intern for the rest of the year. But what is he going to do? Like he's going to try to figure out how to be a head coach with a bunch of veterans. How are they going to know? I think Dwayne Casey would possibly even be a good coach in Memphis. But speaking of Dwayne Casey, let's run right into that. As of today, as we were recording early this morning, it was reported that Coach of the Year for the 2018.
He got Coach of the Year by amongst his peers of coaches, and as well as everyone else has been fired. For this, mainly for the fact of Canada's dry.
Yeah, even Frank Vogel, I think, would have been a very nice selection for
Canada. Canada dried up in the playoffs against LeBron again. So it's I think what is the 3rd straight year the Cavs has knocked them out.
Yeah, I mean, matter of fact, let me just really get into my be a GM real quick segment. So for me, I'm just gonna quickly, if I was the GM of the Toronto Raptors, how would I approach this offseason? So I you could even ask a couple of questions after I'm done with this to kind of see where I'm at with this GM play. So the first thing I think with Toronto, and if we look at Toronto, why they lost this year, a lot of people will say Toronto had a great season. They got home court. They should have never lost 4-0 to LeBron. That's correct. That's correct. They should have never been swept there. But also, they weren't close to Cleveland. They were not playoff Cleveland. So when LeBron takes his game to the next level, Kevin Love takes his game to the next level, these are champions. You got Tristan Thompson that can take his game to. These are champions that can take their game to a championship caliber level. J.R. Smith. Veterans. Whereas on the other side, Kyle Lowry, DeRozan, Valanciunas, Ibaka, none of them have won a championship before. Their head coach has never won a championship before. That whole organization has never seen a championship ever. So there is no next level for them to go to. So what you're seeing is them at peak regular season play. And against LeBron at playoff level, against Kevin Love at playoff level, you have no chance against them. And that's what you saw. You saw completely they were outmatched. Now, for that reason, it's like you need somebody that can get them to that level. And that's usually a coach. You go out and you get a coach that, like a D'Antoni. That's what Houston did. Like, you had, who was the coach you had before that? Kevin McHale.
Yes.
So Kevin McHale is a good coach. But then if you really want to take the next step, you got to go out and get a coach that's on the next level, that can get you to the championship level. So D'Antoni is way above Kevin McHale. He's a championship level coach. So Toronto, you'd have to ask yourself, were they a championship level team though? And as I look at that roster, I don't see that. I see a good team. I see a competitive team. I see a division champion possible team. But I don't see a championship contending team. So in the West, that would be comparable to like the New Orleans Pelicans. I think the Pelicans, to me, is where I would see the Raptors. The difference is, if you put the Pelicans in the East, they might win 55 games. That's just how tough the West is. But on the East, you just look at the number, you say, oh, Toronto won 59 games. They must be that good.
No, I don't even think the Pelicans get swept by Cleveland.
No, they won't. They absolutely won't. So it's like, that's the comparison I'm trying to just give it. So the first move that I would make would actually be fire Dwayne Casey. So I'm like, I respect the hell out of their GM too. I actually got him as my executive of the year. I don't know how to say his name particularly right. Mouze Ujiri, the president of the Raptors.
Must you worry? Gotcha.
Now, I respect the hell out of him. I think he's a great executive. He was with the Denver Nuggets when he made the Carmelo trade to the Knicks. He knows what he's doing. But first move, I would say is fire Dwayne Casey. The fact that he did that today, he's continuing to do everything that I think a real GM should do. So after firing, Coach Dwayne Casey, next move that I would make is actually bring in the G League Raptors coach, Jerry Stackhouse, who's won a championship and has been to back-to-back G League finals with that Raptors team. So he's already in the Raptors system. Like Van Pleet played with him. Delon Wright came up with him in the D League. Some of those players that you see on that bench played with Stackhouse and came up under him before they get him to the big team. So I think he's the perfect coach, almost like with the major leagues. When you have a minor league coach at the AAA that bring up a lot of your young stars, and then he becomes a head coach because he was with them when they were coming up, that's a good pickup. So a lot of these young players that will be there, like the Delon Wright, like I say, the Van Pleet, OG Anunoby, Siakam, these are the players that I feel like Jerry Stackhouse already has a relationship with that would be good for him to continue with them. So I would bring in Jerry Stackhouse as a coach first. Then I would break up what they have. I think it's time to reconstruct, not rebuild, reconstruct. So the first move I would make is trade DeMar DeRozan. And this trade to me is a supreme trade for everybody involved. The trades that I make is for both teams, not just for the team that I'm with. So the trade that I had put together, I'm trading DeMar DeRozan to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Okay? I'm trading him and Joakim Poeltl for Andrew Wiggins and Justin Patton. So it's basically DeRozan for Andrew Wiggins. Why? Andrew Wiggins is more of an offensive star. Tom Thibodeau does not particularly like Andrew Wiggins because he's a defensive coach. So his guy is Jimmy Butler. His guy is Towns. These are players that are defensive players first. Wiggins has not reached his potential with Thibodeau. That is clear to the whole world. This is a number one pick that was considered baby Kobe Bryant that has somehow not maximized his offensive talent. He's shown a lot of brightness.
He's gotten better every year statistically, but it still hasn't showcased.
Where he's not reached his max potential. It's almost like, look at somebody like Jeff Green, 5th pick in the draft. We've seen him have good years, but nobody will say that he reached his maximal potential. It just didn't happen. So we could say like Russell Westbrook reached his maximal potential.
Yeah.
And that's because he was with the same system that OKC team developed him from a rookie and let him grow into the star that he became.
Mm-hmm.
With Wiggins, I don't see that happening at all. Especially with Tom Thibodeau.
And I think in that team,
even with Jimmy Butler, he didn't reach his offensive peak under Thibodeau. Mm-hmm. It was not until actually Thibodeau was removed from Chicago that Butler reached his potential under Fred Hoiberg offensively. Mm-hmm. So now he's back with Thibodeau. A lot of people feel like, oh, Thibodeau's developed him defensively. Not the offensive star that he became. So for me, that trade, and then Andrew Wiggins is considered Toronto's and Canada's finest basketball prospect. Mm-hmm. From the time he was 15, he was called Maple Jordan as an order to Toronto. Mm-hmm. So I think for the Raptors and Canada to bring back y'all prodigal son, this is like Stephon Marbury coming back to the Knicks.
Make him come on.
You bring him back, and this becomes the face of your franchise, Andrew Wiggins. So that's the first move that I make. The second move I make is to get rid of Kyle Lowry. And there's nothing against Kyle Lowry. I would actually love to keep him as the point guard with Wiggins. The reason I'm doing it is Lowry's become brothers to DeRozan. They're like this. They're close. They're best friends. You see them work out together. Their kids always with each other. They're brothers. So if I trade DeRozan, I don't think Lowry will ever be the same person. I took away his best friend. He will never play the same. I have to move him. So for him, the place that he always wanted to play is at his home. He's from Philadelphia. He's always wanted to play there. It's been his dream. He almost was signed by them, but then they signed J.J. Redick. There wasn't enough money. J.J. Redick going to be a free agent, so Philadelphia has an enormous amount of money coming up this year. They need a point guard, a veteran point guard, to be along Ben Simmons and to be along Markelle Fultz. I think Lowry would be a perfect pickup for them. So I would trade now Lowry to Philadelphia for a 2018 first-round pick, which I believe is the 10th pick in the draft, and the 2019 second-round pick. So next year. Because I feel like Lowry is still one of the best point guards in the league. He deserves something back significantly. You won't give him up.
I think with his age might be a concern, though.
Correct. But the reason I say the first-round pick is because it's not a top 5 pick.
Yeah, okay.
It's a 10th pick in the draft, which to me is like a 10th pick in the draft is equivalent to what
I might just get one if that were to be a draft.
Fact. The reason I say it's a second-round pick is really something that people give away.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about like second-round picks well in the future. Like, who cares? So it's like you get 2 draft picks, you give up Lowry. It's really for that first-round pick. Cool, right? And it can even be like, say, a top 8 protected pick so that you feel comfortable about what they're giving up, right? Next move I'll make, the last move, trade I'll make would be now, I would trade Serge Ibaka. Again, this has nothing to do with Serge Ibaka's talent. I love Serge Ibaka's talent. I think he'd actually be a good player with him. But he's getting $23 million a season for the next 3 years. If I'm going to reconstruct my team, that don't make no sense for us. So I would trade him to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Tristan Thompson. Now, the Cavaliers actually been trying to move on Tristan Thompson because Tristan Thompson really does a lot of the same things that Kevin Love does. He's a supreme rebounder. And Kevin Love is a supreme rebounder. They play the same position, power forward. So it's like they've been both kind of working against each other while they play with each other. So now my idea is because Valanciunas is a poor rebounder. And Tristan Thompson is also from Canada. He's one of the finer Toronto prospects. You bring him back home. You now bring Thompson back home to Canada. That's where you're from, baby. And you're a great rebounder to go upside Valanciunas, so I want to develop more. I feel like he's a 5th pick in the draft that has never been developed. You have DeRozan, you have Lowry, they're a perimeter team, but you have a young interior player that you've never developed.
I think with that trade, if they were to do something like that, that's when you probably get that draft pick.
No.
I think you get that.
The reason I say you can't, because Tristan Thompson is probably better than Serge Ibaka.
I think that second draft pick, I think you probably could get it for that.
I don't think we should get it. You probably could, but I think it would be a straight up because I think Tristan gets $20 million a year, Ibaka gets 23. I think it would be a straight up trade.
Okay, yeah.
And I think for Cleveland, this is exactly what they need. They need a rim protector. And they've been looking wide and far for it. Ibaka is one of the best rim protectors.
His name is He'll Block You.
Ibaka. You know what I'm saying? So I think for those 3 trades will help everybody involved in Toronto. Now let's get into the draft. So that 10th pick that I would get from Philadelphia, I would either draft 3 point guards. So it's either who's available at that 10th pick. So the first guy, if he's available, I'm snatching him up. Trae Young. I think Trae Young would be a perfect player to go alongside Andrew Wiggins, OG Anunoby, Tristan Thompson, and Valanciunas as this young team that we're putting together with Jerry Stackhouse. But if we don't get Trae Young because he goes a little bit earlier, maybe Cleveland wants him. Maybe like a little team earlier wants him. Memphis, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
He's a bright kid. I'm going Colin Sexton.
Mm-hmm.
If I can get my hands on him, I'm definitely jumping at that. Again, another player that can go top 8, I might not get him at 10. Third is for sure who I could get at 10, and I know I'll get this player. Shai Alexander Gregorius. I can't probably particularly say the name right yet. Out of Kentucky. 6'6", 7'1" wingspan, point guard. This kid has the Rondo Drew Holiday in him. He's not the most offensive studded kid, but he will be a very good player. I think he will be a good match also. So I got those 3 players. Then, to kill, absolutely murder the offseason, in free agency, I would go after no other, Avery Bradley. That would be my main guy to go after in offseason is Avery Bradley.
Why is that?
Glad you asked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm building this around defense.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Wiggins is not a good defensive player. Wiggins plays 2 guard. The person that backs up my 2 guard, I want to be an elite defensive player. Avery Bradley. That's why Avery Bradley becomes a choice. And then my golden free agent pickup would be this whole Canada move again. Corey Joseph. From Canada, played for the Raptors a little bit, was part of their last real playoff run. Would love to come back. Would be a great backup point guard in that whole mode. I would also try to get my hands on him in free agency if I could. And that would be me playing GM for the Toronto Raptors this year, 2018 offseason.
That's interesting pickup.
You have any questions for my GM-ness?
Not really, but well, it's a little like I think you're moving a lot of familiar players to try and then to call it not a reconstruction. I think it really is.
Yeah,
it's a rebuild if you are because it's a whole pretty much set of new class of players.
It is.
So
new coach,
I think
new players.
I would probably say either you keep a DeRozan and Ibaka or Ibaka and a Lowry. But I see what you're saying with the whole.
Gotta blow it up.
But at the end of the day, no, I mean the whole family thing with Lowry and DeRozan. But I think you have to keep at least one of those players. I think DeRozan being the younger, I think 27 years old, you could still get a good run with him.
I think you can. I just feel like he's just not good enough.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what it comes down to. It's like it's the idea of like what Phil Jackson was saying with Carmelo Anthony. It's not that I don't think Carmelo's a great player. But I don't think Carmelo at this stage can be our best player if we want to win games.
That's true.
And that's where I look at DeRozan. It's like, if DeRozan's our best player, we're not a championship team. If DeRozan's my 3rd best player, we're probably a championship contender. And I look at the Golden State Warriors the same way. If Klay Thompson is their best player, they're not a championship team. But the fact that Klay Thompson is their 3rd best player, they're hard to beat.
Yeah. So that's
like DeRozan to me is Klay Thompson level.
Yeah, he could essentially. But the reason I say like I just think like a person like at least one of those players has to stay in order for either Lowry, Ibaka, or that's the only thing I would have. The only question like why do you feel that getting rid of all 3?
Oh, honestly, I would feel like the reason I call it reconstruction is because I don't think fans that just seen their team win 59 games want to hear rebuild.
Okay.
Like I don't think you can ever pitch that to an owner. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You just can't do it. Like because your team has way too much talent for you to go from 59 wins to like 20 wins. It just shouldn't happen. Even if I trade off all 5 starters, the bench alone should at least make the team competitive. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like that's how good the team has to be if they won 59 games.
And then the next thing only question I would ask is, when do you see this team winning with those trades?
Excellent. I'm glad. That's a great question. So, if we was to do that, let's say I bring in all these players, I think year 1 there would be a 7th or 6th seed under Jerry Stackhouse. Mm-hmm. The next year, we would push and now be champions again. So, it's like, all right, I have the first year. The idea is just to let Andrew Wiggins become James Harden. Mm-hmm. Almost like with Houston. That first year where he finally gets his own, this is your team, do your thing. Learn how you're going to score 30 a game. But then year 2 now, James Harden and Houston is now, the league knows that they're a team that's going to be in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But that first year is like, wow, they made the playoffs. Oh, wow. Almost like with Isaiah Thomas and Brad Stevens. Mm-hmm. The first year they make the playoffs, it's like, oh, that's nice. The next year, they're the number 1 seed. And Isaiah is scary now. I'm an MVP caliber player. Because now everything is here now. We've developed this over 2 years. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So for me, it's like once Andrew Wiggins and who's the other players we have in this team? OG Anunoby, Tristan Thompson, Valanciunas, and
Rookie draft pick.
and the point guard. Once they get a second year, and then even DeLon Wright, that first year could be a starter. He's a good enough. This is a potential lottery pick point guard.
And then the other thing I was say was, do you pick up Van Fleet?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll keep him for sure. And the reason I like Van Fleet because Jerry Stackhouse was actually who developed in the G League. And that's how. Okay. So it's like that's the connection there.
Okay.
So it's like for me, yeah. I think definitely year 2 they definitely year 3 they're a championship contender, like against any team in the East.
Okay. It is easy in the East.
I would say it's easy just as much like the teams in 3 years will be now Milwaukee, New York, Philadelphia, Boston. Those 4 teams will be in 3 years with Embiid, Simmons, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Porzingis, Ntilikina. These when they grow up, Parker and Giannis. As these teams grow up, these are the teams. So
they gotta show up.
In the East, I'm looking like I got Wiggins, I got Tristan Thompson, I got Valanciunas. I'm confident with Jerry Stackhouse and probably him having the best defense in the G League for 2 straight years. He can bring that to them. If you have a good defense, like Portland had the third-rated defense, that's why they were third in the West. They had the third-rated defense and number 1 for some time during the year, all year. And then you have 2 of the best scoring backcourt in the league. You're going to win games that way. So now if I got Wiggins scoring Kobe Bryant-like numbers every game, and I have Tristan Thompson almost leading the league in rebounds every year, and we're a top 3 defense, of course they're going to be the 4th, 5th seed in the East. Off of those things alone. They might not be a championship team, as we don't think Portland's a championship team, but they're going to be 3, 4, 5 in the West every year just off of that formula. Offense through Lillard and McCullough, top 5 defense.
That's another team that might have a change in culture in the next 2 years.
I think they're 1 star away. To me, the player they need is like a Boogie Cousins, Joel Embiid.
It's something like that.
You need a center that can match your backcourt.
Because it doesn't make sense.
And
the fact that they got swept out of here.
Well, I just thought that was a horrible matchup.
That was just a bad.
Horrible. And then I think
because nobody can stop Davis.
It's not even that nobody can stop Davis. Davis wasn't the problem. The problem was like their star Lillard got locked up by 2 guards that basically wanted him.
Mm-hmm.
So like they were basically switching off and eating Lillard.
Mm-hmm.
McCullough was struggling too because like you have 2 of the best perimeter defenders in the league that just want you 7 games and they're bigger than you.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rondo and Holiday is bigger than both Lillard and McCullough. Like
it was just bad for them.
Horrible matchup.
And that's what I mean is what makes it worse is because they had then you're getting guarded up.
Davis.
So there's like I bet let's pass it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Davis is over there.
He still had Anthony Davis. Like that was a horrible match. Like the worst matchup you could get. Almost like with Toronto drawing LeBron.
Yeah.
It's like damn. God damn.
In the end, you couldn't do me a favor.
Yeah. God damn. Shout out to Indiana. I mean,
but yeah, that was good GM talk, man.
Appreciate that. Let's move on with the rest of these coaches then.
Oh man, that's what we.
So run right into the New York Knicks. Was able to bring in David Fizdale as their new head coach, the 29th head coach of New York Knicks. Me a Knicks fan, I quickly talk on my Knicks. Objectively speaking, this is one of the best head coach hirings in the NBA. Like this is not even for the Knicks. This is for like when Fizdale got fired, I said during that show, whomever gets David Fizdale is probably going to get one of the best young coaches for the next 5 to 10 years. Mm-hmm. And that was me speaking without thinking that Jeff Hornacek would get fired or relieved. So now that the Knicks happen to be the team that get this guy, and the first comment that he made was, I want to coach Porzingis to be either the MVP or the Defensive Player of the Year or both. Mm-hmm. You see where he's going with it. You know what I'm saying? So you see where they're looking at this as. So for me, that's a home run. Like
yeah, I think it's honestly like going in like I'm watching more. I'm actually like what Fizdale seemed like he's bringing to this culture. I think just off of within the week of him being here, he brought in Nick Van Exel to be his assistant. Just about to bring him in. Even just the conversations with when I think Gasol asked him like, "Oh, I wanted a certain type of coach."
Yeah.
I forgot what coach he called. Oh, Pop. He said, I'd rather Pop. And he says, "Hey, I want LeBron rather than you." So it's like that. Like, you know, whatever you could dish. Like, he has that fiery sense. And then what he's been bringing into coach, but he also said that he feels that next year, Lance Thomas should have a Draymond Green type of playing career. Like bringing up those type of mentions about players where people are just second guessing. Like these are players I know you mentioned like that's talented players, and you feel like he's already seen like the fact that it's like he's looked at the team and he's casted for this team. Like I think he feels happy at this.
Yeah, place. I mean that's a perfect analogy I've heard throughout the start. Like I think David Fizdale is perfectly casted as the head coach of the New York Knicks. Like everything about it, because like first of all, you want the GM and the head coach to almost be in lockstep. To the point where they almost look like the same person. And the teams, like for instance, Steve Kerr and Jacob Lako, the GM there, when you see them walking next to each other, they look like brothers. They always look like they're the same kind of person. When they talk, they sound alike.
They have the same mindset. If your GM and your coach, no matter what sport it is, if y'all both have the same, all right, I tell you what player I need, what type of person I want, and y'all have the same, like, oh, I know exactly what you need.
Correct. If you look at Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley, They look the same, and when they talk, they talk the same.
The same talk comes out.
Popovich and R.C. Bruford. R.C. Bruford has been the Spurs GM for like the last 15 years, and Popovich has been the president and the coach. So if you hear them talk about players, as a matter of fact, I remember the interview that they had when they had drafted Kawhi Leonard. The both of them sounded like they almost was the same. Like Popovich was like, "We love his character. We love the fact that we could probably mold him into a player that will work well in our system. He has all the skills that we like." You heard R.C. Buford say the exact same thing. Like, when we looked at Kawhi Leonard, we couldn't get past the fact that he had all the things that we look for in a player. The intangibles, the dedication. The both of them sounded exactly alike. Now, when I look at Scott Perry, David Fizdale seems like the same person. Like, that's why this cast looks like it's perfect. Like, Jeff Hornacek does not feel like a Scott Perry guy. And I think it's not, and then a lot of people say like, well, it was just a bad coach, it didn't work out. No, like if you are not in the same mind state, because we just have different philosophies, we're not going to be able to help each other. So if I feel like to win games, we have to have a great defensive team, I'm going to draft and I'm going to trade players that are probably on the defensive side of the ball, right? But if my coach is an offensive wizard and he just thinks that offense is what wins games, the players that I bring in are not going to be the players that he probably wants. And the players that I put in position for him are not going to be the players that work well in his system. It would never work out for the players. It won't work for me. It won't work out for him. You know what I mean? And I think that's happened with Jeff Hornacek. And I salute Jeff Hornacek. I think Jeff Hornacek did a lot of good things. We saw him bring out offensively Porzingis this year. We've seen him bring out a lot of players offensively this year. Trey Burke, Michael Beasley. We've seen Kyle Quinn have a great year. And even we've seen Ntilikina develop with Hornacek. So offensively, I think Hornacek did a lot of good things for the Knicks players. I just think like what Mills and Perry are saying, that they want a defensive first team and a defense win championships, which Golden State finally did with Mark Jackson to instill a defensive culture. And Kerr will still say to this day, we are defensive first. And defense wins. The Spurs, they hang their head on defense first. Any championship team that we've seen across history, Phil Jackson Bulls were the best defensive team of that era. Like Jordan and Pippen were all defensive players. We see with Kevin Durant is about to be an all defensive player.
Actually, if you even look at the Final Four teams in these playoffs, all tops in defense.
All of them.
Yeah, regularly. Okay, but I'm not sure.
Tyronn Lue is a defensive coach.
Yeah, but
they're not a good defensive team.
They didn't
he is a defensive coach.
Yeah, in his playoffs, they've been a better defensive team.
Correct, because they turn up.
They turn up in the playoffs, but essentially all four teams are the top defensive players of
the top 10, top 15 defensive rating. None of these are 28th in defense, and it don't work that way. So now when Fizdale now comes from a defense first standpoint, not most people don't even realize he improved Memphis defense his first year there when they were known for defense. How crazy is that? And the reason I think Fizdale again is the perfect mention. So the biggest holdup with Fizdale is the Marc Gasol situation. Under David Fizdale, Marc Gasol actually had his best year, which is the first thing we look. So he actually did do well by Marc Gasol. The second side of it is Marc Gasol, after it, he owned it. He said yo, I went in there and I tried to push him yo, this is how you're gonna be better. And every player has their own feeling of when they become an all-star. This is what I'm good at. This is what makes me good. How are you telling me to do other things when this is what I know that I'm good at? It's scary for a player. It's like imagine telling Dwayne Wade in year 8, we need you to change your entire game to play with LeBron James. it's hard for somebody that's now come up and become confident at what they do to not have to now almost become unconfident and try something new. Do something different.
Yeah, like Kevin Love.
Exactly. Kevin Love, Chris Bosh.
Being the superstar in
Minnesota
to be like, all right, you're a role player now.
You got to adjust your game. And
then
we saw with LeBron, too.
There was a little reluctance in the first year, but then you could see that it adjusted.
Correct. Even with LeBron, one in Miami. Them first 15 games, he almost looked like a bum.
Yeah.
And because now it's Dwayne Wade's team, he wasn't confident in his game.
He's not getting the ball right away.
So I think
you gotta go into
just quickly finish the point. So I think Dave Fields is pretty high. I think the Knicks legitimately became contenders in the next few years off of this hire. Mm-hmm. And I go back to Phil Jackson creating this structure. When Phil was hired, he said, my job is to create the structure in place for this team to be successful for the next decade. I know I'm not going to be here when the Knicks are actually good. They brought me in here to make sure the structure is going to be right. The first thing he did was he kept on Steve Mills as their general manager, which to me is the most important part of this whole Knicks rebuild. After the Knicks do become successful, that is the one thing I think everybody should look back to. He kept Steve Mills on. That's what created the chemistry that we're now looking at right now. Because Steve Mills is the president.
It could have been a bad culture.
This is
not even a bad culture.
Because technically, this is still Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, technically. So, Phil made Steve Mills as general manager, and he said, I'm going to mentor Steve Mills to take over for me if I am to go, or when I do go. So, now, when Phil left, what people don't even realize, Phil sat down with James Dolan twice that week. And then the third time, or the third day after that, you heard that Phil Jackson and James Dolan have agreed to part ways. Mm-hmm. To me, that was Phil Jackson saying, I'm done with this. Because at that time, you heard like the media was ready to pitch him. They were saying, oh, he wants to trade Porzingis. Carmelo's not even answering the Knicks' calls anymore. Porzingis is now not answering the Knicks' calls anymore. Phil Jackson has now created this environment in which everybody in New York feels Phil Jackson needs to go.
Yeah.
I think Phil just said, like, you know what, I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
And Phil had the last interview that we saw, Phil says, like, how are we letting a kid that has never did anything decipher being untradeable? And that was his last argument to New York, was like, wait, y'all just was mad at me for drafting Porzingis, and now that he's become the player that I thought he would be. And I'm saying that by him skipping an exit interview, no player I've ever had did that. We started to receive calls for him. Now, he's untouchable? What has he done? I got 11 rings. And y'all saying that I'm wrong for even listening to calls? And to Phil's point was like, if they offered Boston, like they said, offered him 3 first-round picks, including that first-round pick that was Jason Tatum, for Porzingis.
Gone, bro.
And Kyrie Irving.
What idiot would pass that up?
So Kyrie Irving and 3 first-round picks for Porzingis? You listen to that. Even if you don't pull the trigger, you listen. You listen like as a GM or a good GM, you listen like, well, what else could we do?
I'm sorry to bring it up to football, but Andrew Luck's a favorite player, but they ain't trying to trade him. But if he heard 3 first-round picks, what you talking about, 3 first-round picks?
That goes back to that Herschel Walker trade.
It's a conversation.
That the Cowboys came up on.
It's a conversation no matter what.
But the media completely made it seem like this is a clear sign of Phil don't know what he's doing. He's continually made these dumb mistakes. He's now alienated his 2 best players. He has got to go. And I think Phil at that point was like, you know, I'm done with this. Like, I've tried to be open with this media. They do this to me. I've tried to be open with these players. They somehow found ways. So it's like, look, Steve, come back. So he's like, look, Steve Mills, I've now mentored you for the last 2 years. You know where we at. And then Steve Mills even said, like, yo, that Frank Ntilikina pick was me. I was the general manager. I flew out to France and watched him play 3 times. I talked to his coach. So this idea that was a Phil pick, I was the general manager. I was the one that went back to Phil and said, like, this is what I want to do. Phil just had to okay what Steve was doing. Steve was the one flying around and doing what a general manager is supposed to do. They were crucifying Phil for not being a general manager. That wasn't what he was. He was not. He was the president.
First of all, he's like 69 years old. He's not flying on planes to go watch kids around the country, around the world.
Like, then what people don't realize, Pat Riley and Greg Popovich are the presidents of those organizations. You don't see Pat Riley flying to each gym to watch it. He has 2 GMs there for that.
And the reason why you have
Pop has a GM, R.C. Bruford.
And the reason why you have a GM that you put in place is these people know your vision. So
he's the one that you handpicked that had the same.
They know you're gonna bring the player that you want because there's a reason why. You don't make him a GM because I think you can do it.
It's the same with like Belichick. Like Belichick has people with him that have the same views
The
as
same
him.
mindset. They know exactly what he wants, and they're gonna bring 10 options. All right, we got 10 players or what are 5 players that look like who you want.
So this idea that somehow like Phil was the only one in the whole organization that wanted Frank Ntilikina over Dennis Smith and Malik Monk, it's foolish. And then when the draft was about to get started,
Right?
right?
Too much credit.
Phil Jackson had mentioned that these 3 players that he thought were special players were Jason Tatum, Frank Ntilikina, Donovan Mitchell. Those are the 3 players that Phil Jackson had stated that he thought were great basketball players that weren't triple doubles, they weren't athletes, they were great basketball players. And now we look at those 3 players, other than maybe say Frank Ntilikina statistically, haven't all 3 of them had dominant rookie years?
Actually, we can say that and go to the next one about the way how 2 out of those 3 players you mentioned had spectacular playoff runs, with one still continuing.
And now we look at Phil's drafts. Porzingis, Willie Hernangomez. Does it not look like? And then again, it's back to the idea like he won.
I even like that young buck Dotson.
It worked. And again, I hope you look at my.
Yeah, I remember when you had him as a second round.
Yeah, I loved him so much. He's a first round talent I felt because he had to transfer. He would have been like an 18th or 17th pick. He was the best shooting 2 guard in the entire draft. Think about that. Anyway, so let's get back to it. So let me fast forward. I mean, I just think that's a great hire. Shout out to Steve Mills. Shout out to Scott Perry. The Knicks are in great hands. You know
I think it's going to be a dope culture.
Moving over, like the head of coaches, like so, Toronto is not going to be available. Atlanta because Mike Budenholzer had parted ways.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit with Stan Van Gundy.
Mm-hmm.
Milwaukee because they fired Jason Kidd.
Mm-hmm.
Orlando because they let go Frank Vogel.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but it's going to be an interesting off season of GMs scrambling around to find out which coach. We're going to see a lot of some of these Final Four teams. Assistant coaches going to be probably hired towards the end of the season.
And there's a couple of quick. I'll give you 5 quick top coaches out there. You have Mike Budenholzer, like I mentioned. But outside of that, I'll go Mark Jackson, Becky Hammond, David Blatt, former Cavaliers coach, Mike Brown, former Cavaliers coach, Mark Jackson, former Queens, and a guy named Ime Udoka. He's a Spurs assistant. He was a journeyman. He had played for the Knicks at one point, played for the Spurs, played for Golden State, and then Frank Vogel.
Yeah. Well, probably most likely hear like at least 3 or 4 or 5 of those names being called.
But shout out to Becky Hammond. I met her when she played with the Liberty.
Uh-huh.
One of the best WNBA players I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So the fact that she might become the first female head coach, I'm supremely rooting for her. Like, watch the games in the Garden. See it. I hope she gets a chance.
Yeah, at least an interview.
Well, she got an interview. She got a couple. I think Milwaukee interviewed already.
Oh, okay. That'd be dope. That'd be nice to see. Then we can go forward with the.
So let's quickly get into the free agents. Then.
Yeah, got a couple of. Well, looking at the free agent list, I think we have like some of the top names like LeBron and Durant. There's a good chance these guys might stay.
I don't think they go nowhere.
Like Durant, LeBron, but I think Paul George is probably iffy. I'm not sure exactly.
I don't think he go nowhere.
Chris Paul, I don't think he's going anywhere.
At all.
I think it starts getting interesting when you get towards the middle of the pack, where you get to like DeMarco Cousins.
Yeah, that's a little bit.
DeAndre Jordan.
There said Dallas wants to throw
because
enormous amount of money.
It would have been different if he had an amazing season. But then they seen how they did well with what's that boy that got knocked out from Chicago that went over there? Mirotic.
But his point in my article I wrote, I thought Mirotic would be a perfect combination with them because of his stretchability.
But now it's like you look at that. DeAndre Jordan, I think, probably could be moved out. Aaron Gordon, been a lot of talks around his being moved out.
I actually got Aaron Gordon. I want the Knicks about that Aaron Gordon, honestly.
Julius Randle, like, he's probably done with LA.
I don't think he is.
Who knows?
And the reason I think that is, I think, because at the back end of the year, when Luka Walton finally started Julius Randle, we saw how good he could be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think it finally took for him to be what Luke Walton wanted. And I think that the magic is with Luke Walton as the coach, and now that Luke is with Joel, I don't think he's going away because I think Randle plays too well with Lonzo Ball.
Mm-hmm.
And the style that Lonzo Ball plays, Magic wouldn't let Randle go. That's almost like Amari Stoudemire and Steve Nash.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't let a finisher of that caliber, and you have Lonzo who's a pass-first guy. He's not a scorer. He needs finishers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's not going away.
Yeah, so
Jabari Parker's interesting though.
yeah, Jabari Parker is another interesting one.
Isaiah Thomas back to Boston, maybe.
You never know because Marcus Smart is a free agent.
That's true.
So who knows? They might not. He's a good player, but he's never healthy. That's really just his biggest issue. Like he's gonna get hurt. So who knows how they put in that situation? Alfred Payton. I think another one that's a hidden one too is Will Barton. I think he's very underrated. He could be a really good six. He came out as a really good six man,
and then had really good. Already, I think he did.
He might have won, or he's like top. I'm not
he's
sure.
Always been in top 3 for the last 3 years in Denver.
And then I think towards the end of the season, we saw how he could do as a starter. Yeah. And he's actually put up his numbers and become better. So it's like I think that's another player that can go as a diamond in the rough. Derek Favors, yeah, that's another player.
Because a former number 2 pick traded Utah for Darren Williams in that big deal. I don't think he's ever maxed his potential out. And
Tyreek Evans actually had an amazing season after finally being healthy.
And here's the thing about
but those I think some of those players you probably hear their name later on towards into to pattern up that staff that you want. So
correct, got Trevor Ariza. I think Enes Kanter with the Knicks is a big one. He's a player option, but to me he's actually the best low post center in the entire NBA.
I love the fact that
he's a former 3rd round pick, and he's an old school player. He's about that toughness. The fact that he stood up for Ntilikina when LeBron James got in his face.
Man,
that's that old school. And he stood up for Russell Westbrook. When Russell Westbrook had the beef with Kevin Durant last year.
He still got beef with his country, so of course it's
facts. He got beef with his president of his home country. So I want him to stay with the Knicks, but we keep an eye on that.
I find it interesting.
Avery Bradley, where he goes.
I find it interesting with Enes Kanter because I remember how you just were bringing up about Melo situation.
Yeah. And
now I'm hearing this. That was a dumb trade for Melo for Enes Kanter. I said, I didn't say this 8 months ago.
At all.
When this was the best thing since sliced bread.
At all. You know what I'm saying?
Now all of a sudden, but this is my problem. This is only 1 year removed, and you're already thinking this Carmelo Anthony have a better season coming in next year.
And here's the thing, Carmelo didn't have a bad year. And then I think people realize Carmelo for 14 years was the franchise in the face. That's a certain way of playing.
He became
now when he's not only the second option, he's the third option. That's a huge adjustment that people are not giving Carmelo. Not to mention Carmelo actually defensive rating was actually, I believe, top 70. He actually, for a lot of time, he was actually top 30 in defensive win shares. Way better than LeBron James this year. So all these people that said Melo need to come off the bench, Melo had a good defensive season.
And I can't even give him
offensively. He wasn't even Melo.
He was not third option. If you really look at it, he was 4th if you're behind Adams.
Because Adams is really good. The role player. He changes it from Paul George and Westbrook when they are so it's Melo didn't have those isolation plays that he needs to be Melo.
I think he was taking about 12 shots a game, man.
But I do feel the second year in this situation, Melo almost like Chris Bosh. The second year.
I just laugh at when a person all right, we give. Sometimes I think they take a person player like Carmelo's I don't know.
He's
mid-30s.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying when a person's in the mid-30s, so then they think okay, you're that type of player. No matter where you go, you should be that player.
You should just go ahead and put those numbers up. You need to do that.
All right, first, it doesn't work that way.
And then they start going with the blame game, saying Billy Donovan is trying too, man. It's a lot of dynamic. Pretty, you got Paul George might be a free agent next year. Is he fully committed? There's a lot of things in play.
Behind Westbrook and Adams, this has been a different team for the last 3 years.
Right, since KD left.
It's not been the same.
Even when KD was
your second scoring option was Oladipo last year. He's no longer with your team.
Fact. So, it's just not fair. It's not fair to do that. I think next year, like I said, Melo would do a lot better. Almost like Chris Bosh, year 2, did a lot better. Kevin Love, year 2, did a lot better when it's I'm not only because Kevin Love had to do that. I'm the number 1 option on my team for 4 years, and now I go to this team and I'm the 3rd option. I'm behind Kyrie and LeBron. And I gotta adjust my entire game to that.
Even a person I know because his numbers just doesn't really look different. Even Kevin Durant, first year with Warriors, it was an adjustment role.
No, I think for him, it's not even him. I thought it was. I told him it's Clay. You see Clay's numbers took a little drop. Steph's gonna get his still.
Regardless,
Kevin now is gonna come in. He's too dynamic of a player to take away shots from him.
But I'm just saying, as far as
Clay now,
second year. I'm just saying, second year in, you really look at Durant and you say, "Whoa, that's defensive first team, second team right there."
To go.
That's after 2 year 2. But I'm not saying his first year was a bad year. I'm just saying Year 2 was an improved year.
Well said about Carmelo, though. And I've been saying this shit since the trade happened.
Mm-hmm.
I firmly believe at some point Carmelo Anthony will be coming off of the New York Knicks bench when the Knicks are deep in the playoffs at some point in Carmelo's career.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't know why, but it almost feels like this is gonna happen now. Like it just keeps reiterating itself to me. Like this is gonna happen. Almost like when like the Jeff Hornacek being fired.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just kept coming up to the point where it's like I don't think Jeff is gonna survive this, and then he did. So I think I'm almost sure Carmelo's coming back to New York at some point.
I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. I'm almost sure.
Yeah.
Rodney Hood will not be re-signing with the Cavaliers.
Right.
I can be positive on that one. Yeah, so that's a majority of the free agents.
What was more talents? I mean, you got
some Thaddeus Youngs, a
got
couple of role players.
Cardavius Caldwell Pope.
Yeah.
Dante
Dante Exum out of Utah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think that's majority of the top
big names. Yeah, like that's majority.
I think another thing we have to speak with the rookies in this.
The rookie of the year debate.
The rookie of the year debate. Ben Simmons and
Donovan Mitchell.
And now you know what? I'm also gonna put Tatum out there as a nice third round option. I don't think he's up there in option, but I think he should get a vote or two.
Facts. I mean, let me just look at some of the
Yeah. So.
But yeah, I mean, for me, I hear people saying like, "Yo, he's not a true rookie," but as far as on the basketball court, he is. So all that nonsense about he had a full years, but I'll give you another notion. So I know for a fact Kobe Bryant, his senior year of high school, got an opportunity to play against UCLA and like their practices. So he was already playing against a college team that I believe was ranked that year. They were like 18th or 19th ranked. And Kobe it was Temple, I'm sorry, because he played in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe was a Philadelphia high school superstar.
Mm-hmm.
And he was played against the Temple, because at the time, I can't remember his name right now. He's a famous coach that was with Temple for years.
Mm-hmm.
Tubby Smith, I think his name is. Tubby Brown. Famous coach. I can look his name up in a minute. But so Kobe was playing against a ranked Division I college while he was still a senior in high school. So while he becomes now a draft pick, he has an advantage over virtually most of those draft picks. Like, not only like, yeah, I was playing in college, but I was already doing that on top of my father being an NBA player. Like, I already was playing against NBA players from the time I was 16. That's a severe advantage. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make Kobe a rookie of the year that year? No, he still wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't get off the bench till his third year.
Mm-hmm.
To the point I'm making, like, it's still what you put on the court. Like, Kobe still had to try to play better than Eddie Jones to even get on the court, even though he had all this advantages against Eddie Jones. He still on the court wasn't better than Eddie Jones. So to this point, yeah, Ben Simmons could have missed the year and all that. But what if he didn't perform this year on the court? Simply that fact, he still had to perform, and this still was technically his first full season.
Yeah,
period.
Full season, regardless. He didn't play. He played 0 minutes.
Period. Like, and we saw this with Blake Griffin. Injured his rookie year, didn't play any regular season games his rookie year. Came back the next year.
And we brought it up earlier. Embiid, what was it? 2 years removed, almost was freaking rookie.
Like, people was like, I think we should give it to Embiid. He was the best rookie. He was in Wiggins' draft. Like, think about that.
I just feel that like Ben Simmons all around, as far as a player, as we've seen, like going in, you know his weakness. You know exactly what his weakness is.
Sure, he can't shoot.
The man can't shoot for nothing.
Sure.
But he's still, you know he's going to pass, but yet you don't know how he's going to pass it, when he's going to pass it. And if you leave him on a one, your guard can't stop him on a post. So I think all around he's still got my rookie of the year vote. I think it's unfortunate that people didn't watch Donovan Mitchell or didn't expect him. So now they give him this higher.
Because they're shocked. They want to give him a little more.
But then I just look at even the playoff numbers, right? On the games where in these playoff, as far as numbers, as far as points goes, Mitchell had probably better points.
Yeah.
But shooting statistic, Mitchell shot 10 for 25 in most games.
It was like he was like 2 for 15.
I think he went one game 9 for 30 or something like that. So it's like 9 for 20.
Yeah.
And it's like he shoots a lot.
Yeah, he's
a shooter.
Yeah, obviously,
some of those points, some of those gonna go in. That's what he does. And the games that they won, I'm sorry about the games that they won with Donovan, like all right, Donovan Mitchell has made a lot of points, but the games now, I'm not gonna take away credit, but they weren't really won solely by him. They were really won by Rick Rubio, and Rubio has put in games where Donovan Mitchell went scoreless in first quarters, Rubio was still commanding of that offense. I know a lot of people don't watch Utah games, so it's really hard to tell. You can see the stats of it, but you got to see Rubio brings the ball up.
Like Rubio is the point guard.
He's the one that gets Gobert his points.
Fact. So another notion that I heard coming in New York. Some Knicks fans say yo, I can't believe we picked Ntilikina over Donovan Mitchell. Like we would have had our point guard of the future.
No, you would.
And it's honestly, Frank Ntilikina and Donovan Mitchell had the same thing where it's are they an off guard? Because Donovan Mitchell is really a two guard that can pass, but he's 6'4", so he doesn't have the size of a two guard.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he fell back.
Mm-hmm.
He's truly a shooting guard, but he doesn't have the size of a shooting guard. So that's why he was the 12th pick and not the 4th pick. His size and his age. He was 2 years older than everybody else. He was 6'4" and he's a shooting guard. That doesn't make you a top 10 pick.
And I don't think it makes sense for the Knicks because you went and got Tim Hardaway, so it's you're almost getting this you're getting another scorer who's not really the ball handler.
And I hear a lot of people saying again but he can't play point guard though. He does make passes, so can Derrick Rose. But that's not what you need when you already have offensive talent.
So does Cousins. Cousins can play point guard, but is he your point guard?
In fact, and then with the whole point, speaking of New Orleans, you have Drew Holiday and you have Rajon Rondo. Rajon Rondo is a true point guard. Drew Holiday is really an off guard. He can play some point guard, as he did in Philly, but he's truly best off the ball.
And when did he have his best seasons? As a point guard in Philly? Or as a...
Off the ball Toronto. This has been his best year now, where he doesn't have to play true point guard. That's not who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And I give a best example for Donovan Mitchell. C.J. McCulloch.
Mm-hmm.
McCulloch was considered a point guard in college. But he'll even tell you, yo, I can score the ball. That's what I'm about. I can get people involved. But that's not what I want to do. Donovan Mitchell, that's not what he wants to do.
You even go as far as Bradley Beal and John Wall. Same thing.
I'll give it even better. Allen Iverson was drafted as a point guard. His first year in the league, most people don't even realize, played as a point guard. He averaged 7 assists. The shooting guard of that team with Jerry Stackhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Iverson averaged 7 assists. Most people was wow, what? He did that? Yes, he was a point guard. Larry Brown came in and said, no, you'll be better off as a two guard. And got Eric Snow to play point guard, put Iverson to the off guard, and he exploded to the player that we now know him as. The same ideas with Donovan Mitchell. If you put Donovan Mitchell as a point guard and made him as that mold, you limit who he is. But now if you put Rubio at the point guard and move Mitchell to the off guard, now he can explode and be who he wants to be. Same idea with McCulloch. If you make McCulloch the point guard of Portland,
mm-hmm.
he probably struggle at that. He'll get 16 points, but it won't be what he wants to do. Now you put Lillard at point guard, you move McCulloch to the off guard, he can completely be who he wants to be.
And that's why I have the thing of Marco Simmons is a rookie year for the simple fact of he commands that offense.
I don't like that people try to use the playoffs for an award that's a regular season award.
That doesn't make
sense.
So
Dwayne Casey was the best coach of the regular season.
But yet
I heard people that was saying Brad Stevens should have got a vote. Out of all the head coaches for the regular season, no, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't. His effect is we're seeing in the playoff.
Yeah.
And I heard people say, well, people got injured. Gordon Hayward got injured.
Everyone gets injured, bro.
Gordon Hayward was an extra. They drafted 2 players, top 5 picks for that same position. It would have been a problem anyway.
No, this is my thing. They say your 2 star players got hurt. All right.
Yeah,
the 2 star players that you're speaking of is their first year of this team. You don't even know. They're not even proven to this team yet. So how can they say that these players? It's not like LeBron getting hurt for Cavaliers or Steph Curry getting hurt, where you see the Warriors still won. But that's their star. That's the guy who's been invested as their star for years.
But that's just how they play. This is the way that they win games is based on this player.
Yeah.
Boston was coming in this year. The way that they won was off of Jay Crowder, Isaiah Thomas, and Avery Bradley. Coming in the training camp, they were going. You know what I'm saying? So everything now is new.
But then the main people who you saw last year who's
who still remain as like you get under credit, like Al Horford and Jaylen Brown, like
Smart and Terry Rozier.
And Terry
These
Rozier.
young players now are not taking.
Terry Rozier had experience in the playoffs last year.
Jaylen Brown as a rookie.
Last year.
LeBron.
So it's like these are players that actually.
Not to mention a third pick in the draft. That means that this kid is potential to be a Hall of Famer.
Their whole team is no less than top 15.
Al Horford, third pick in the draft. Yo, when you get drafted that highly, as a basketball player, you're already looked at as an extremely talented player.
Just think of the players that have been drafted that high and have shown. It's very rare that you get that player that falls off.
Like, you have the skills.
Like this,
you just need a system to bring out your skills.
In a year, you'll get your Kwame Browns and your, what's that?
But Kwame Brown is the same as Anthony Bennett. That's a rookie GM that did some nonsense.
So it's like you have situations where it might not look right away, but at the end of the day, if you're a top 5, you're expected to come in and perform.
Not to mention, like, this goes back to the Ben Simmons point. That was the first pick in the draft. Not to mention somebody that not even probably, all of us realized should have never went to college. Like, he has a documentary where he's like, I never even went to classes.
He never liked it.
Freshman
Never liked it. It didn't make no sense for him at all. And then, even if we look at this season now, because I think we spoke about this before, if Markelle Fultz was healthy this year, I think this whole Ben Simmons playoff thingy would probably be different now because it's probably better. You have another option who's an actual scorer. I know JJ Redick has done a lot,
correct,
but you get Markelle Fultz that actually can play at a healthy level. Now y'all probably don't even bring up Mitchell as much.
I even throw you a quick nugget, right? So on the end of the year, so when I first was doing who I thought was gonna be the rookie of the year, I went with who I went with?
Lonzo.
Yes,
Lonzo
Ball and Dennis Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two players that I thought would have the best chance of winning.
I think I had Ben Simmons and Lonzo.
Facts. You had Ben Simmons and I thought to me Ben Simmons would get neutralized by Markelle Fultz.
Mm.
When Markelle Fultz is the number 1 pick in the draft, and to the point that I'm making, the last 2 weeks of the season, after people didn't realize Ben Simmons' numbers went down, and you saw Markelle Fultz actually had a triple double. Last game of the year, he had a triple double. A couple games before that, he had 9 assists. He had 4 points and 8 rebounds. Where it's it showed why he was the number 1 pick. And you don't become the number, but because of that, you saw Ben Simmons was averaging 6 assists, 11 rebounds, 9 points. But Markelle Fultz has 9 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds. The assists are gonna get taken away. And the points are going to get taken away because he's going to have the ball in his hand.
Exactly.
He's a better ball handler. He's a better shooter. So, of course, they're going to put the ball in Fultz's hand, and he's a number 1 pick. Just like Simmons.
So it's I'm saying, if he's playing, if he played half this season and he plays into the playoffs,
Simmons is not even considered with Mitchell. Mitchell will be hands down the rookie of the year if Markelle Fultz plays. It will be talking about Mitchell and Tatum, not even Simmons. But to the Simmons point, though, he could have been an all-star this year. Legit. We can't even say that about Donovan. I love how Donovan's played. But a lot of that is Rubio. Rubio had a great season.
But Simmons,
great season.
Simmons is probably a couple of votes away from making making that list.
But Simmons legitimately is part of the reason the Sixers won 16 in a row. And I do admit, Donovan, I think they had won 12 in a row earlier this season. Utah.
But my thing is
that had a lot to do with Gobert dominating and Rubio dominating.
I'm about to go. This is a Utah team that's playoff removed from a year ago.
Word.
This is
they defensive player of the year roster.
Derek Favors, Exum, Gobert. These are players that returned from last year's. I was talking about Sessions. Ingles. There you go. I can remember. Joe Ingles returned from last year. These are players that's still in your team that returned from last year. You only lost Hayward and I think Hood, mainly. It was mainly
Joe Johnson too.
And Joe Johnson, but Joe Johnson just was the playoffs. So that's like losing Dwayne Wade. So but then you go from Philly, who was laughing stock last year.
It was not. It was starting to, but it was the first year you saw Embiid show himself. But Embiid got hurt, and then they didn't make the playoffs. So, and that was Embiid's first year. The first time you said the trust the process shit looked like it had a chance. And it's because Embiid finally was healthy. Finally played.
During that 16-game winning streak, I think Embiid played 3 games.
No, he played a lot. But
no. He was hurt.
But he was hurt some of it.
He was hurt majority of the game.
It was 7. It wasn't that low, but he played some of it.
He played like half the game.
But a lot of it was Simmons.
Don't know.
Yeah, Simmons was the guy.
So it's all right, this is a Rookie of the Year campaign. It's for the season. It's
called out during the playoffs. It's already made up during the season.
And this all for just the team. Like, look at the Philadelphia, where it's Covington and B. And B, this is his first full season in the NBA.
First full season.
Like,
J.J. Redick just signed.
This first year in Philly.
Covington, a G League star. It's like...
Came up. Like, he's not a top 10 player. He's not no star.
They picked up Bellinelli late in the year, which was actually...
And sorry, this is his second
year.
Last year was his rookie year. Coming over. So now you have all these young players. Brent Brown is not a main coach.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, these are all everybody coming together. And
they just traded Okafor.
And the fact that Embiid has been hurt throughout the year, that's strictly you got to give Simmons his love. Like, that's something Mitchell was not on.
I'm saying, if Gobert and Ricky Rubio are hurt on that team.
And Gobert was. I'll give that. Gobert was hurt for some of this year. But a lot of this, again, Rubio had a very good season. You know what I mean? Ingles and the coach. The coach had a phenomenal year.
And mind you, this is a team that was in the playoffs last year.
Facts.
So, hands down, I want to give I know this is a little unscripted, but I know your knowledge of basketball is pretty good. We didn't really think of a top 5. So, you think of like a top 5 rookie performance, playoff performance.
Playoffs? Or?
Yeah, just playoff.
Oh.
Top 5. Like, because I think I've seen a little bit of something, so I had a couple players I was thinking like Tim Duncan, David Robinson, I think Mitchell Richmond.
All right, so rookie performances, I'm going to have to... I can give
Jordan.
you 5. I can't listen more, but I give you 5. So, first off, I'm going to go with Michael Jordan against Boston as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Dwayne Wade against Baron Davis, Charlotte as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Rookie.
I just named 4. I think I said David Robinson. Tim Duncan, I think they had good rookie playoffs.
Think about iconic playoff runs. Magic Johnson.
Michael Jordan.
As a rookie.
Yeah. Larry Bird.
Facts. I'm trying to think of his iconic rookies. So under Jordan with Boston.
I think Hakeem Olajuwon, I think actually had a good rookie. I could be wrong. Yeah. I'm not sure if he made it as a rookie. But I think it'll count. I don't know. I just thought of this one just a little bit because I was like, yo, we saw all this rookie, and I'm like, we have like 3 solid rookies in this draft.
Yeah.
That's actually played really well in this playoffs. So I'm like, yo.
Tatum, Simmons, Mitchell.
Man, there might be another one in there too.
These are some dominant playoff performances.
Yeah, so that was just, I just want to see, check your head a little bit into that. That was good. That was something.
Definitely got to pick that up. I fuck with that. So what else we got here? So that was the rookie of the year. So basically, I just feel like as far as the rookie of the year debate is like, you can go with what people put on the court.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we should judge people on things outside of what they put on the court.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we should only see like what they did through the 82 games and then compare them to and then look at like what they had as far as teammates on the court, not what they had as far as like who's training them. Because just because you have like a Phil Jackson and one other person has a Brent Brown, you have an advantage. You have Phil Jackson, or if you have Steve Kerr, if you have Brad Stevens, you have one of the better coaches. That's an advantage. But do you now say that person deserves to be the rookie of the year over the other one because they had a better coach? Not fair.
Not fair at all. That's our rookie to be. I guess we're both unanimous on Simmons should win it.
Oh yeah, sure. Not even debate in my eyes. Not even debate. But I think Simmons and Tatum definitely need some love. I'm still going to show some love to Lonzo Ball. I think Lonzo Ball was sidelined because of the Lakers situation.
I think it's
they needed a first round pick, and if he'd have played, they'd have won so many games.
I think it's a dope situation. I think next year we're going to see it. It's going to be nice to see.
But lastly, on this draft, though, I know a lot of people looking at Jason Tatum and then looking at Mitchell. For me, and by analogy, years ago when I was talking to my mans, I said that Kyrie Irving and Steph Curry will be the future of the point guard. At the time, Kyrie Irving was hurt with a wrist injury. Steph Curry was out with an ankle injury. So it looked like both of them was never going to reach their potential. But for me, it was like Kyrie Irving was the best shooting guard I'd seen. I feel like eventually he's going to translate. And to me, Kyrie Irving had the best handles I'd seen since Allen Iverson, but can actually shoot better than Allen Iverson. To me, that translates. He's going to be a star. So those two players to me will be the future of the point guard. So when I looked at this draft, back in December before it was even a draft yet, when it was just a bunch of 20 kids and nobody knew who was going to be number one pick, it was a bunch of players, right? I identified Frank Ntilikina out of France and this guy Lonzo Ball out of UCLA as being two transcendent players. It's like this is way before we even was looking at De'Aaron Fox or Jason Tatum.
I remember when you first brought them up, you said these guys are actual point guards.
Facts, and it's like to me, it's like they're rare. Like Frank Ntilikina
defense, and they actually spread the ball.
Facts, they do what LeBron James did, where it's like they make players better, and that to me, Jason Kidd, Michael Jordan, Anthony Davis, the players that become legendary is because they make everybody around them better. That's what makes them great. Because you already have talent. Like Andrew Wiggins has talent. You know what I mean? Derrick Rose has immense talent. But the difference between those players and then the iconic, the Jerry West, Clyde Frazier, Magic Johnson, how much better did you make the four players on the court around you with your own greatness? It's like Steph is making Klay Thompson a Hall of Famer. I think if Klay was by himself, we would look at him the way we look at DeRozan, Andrew Wiggins is a good offensive player.
I know he can shoot.
Yeah, like he can score points. You know, like a CJ McCollum, he can score points.
But he's not a person where he's like, it depends on which franchise he would have fell. Do you keep extending him?
Exactly. But now that he's playing alongside Steph, and when people realize Steph opens the floor up so much for Klay, like so much to the point where you see how great Klay is. If Klay got double teamed, he was the star of his own team. He would never be split. It's like Harrison Barnes with Golden State, a lot of opportunity. He was scoring 16 a game at a 45% clip. Now he's shooting like 41% because now he has to shoot on his own more.
Yeah.
Same situation. So I look at Frank Ntilikina like a 6'6", 18-year-old defensive wizard that can shoot the ball from long range and can pass the ball.
And speaking of the team, that's another player that also popped in with rookie, which is what's the Mavericks guy?
Dennis Smith. Whereas like I don't think he's gonna be a legendary player. I think he'll be good. I think
I'm just saying as far as rookie seasons. I'm saying like all people
with Lonzo. Like Lonzo to me is almost like Steph Curry, where it's like whenever everybody in the world knows about you. So Steph, from the time he was like a freshman, it was coming at him like you're Del Curry's son. They trying to prop you up, you little skinny boy that want to shoot people's face. For years, people were coming at Steph, and to me, it's like he took that, grew up, and handled it. So to me, it's like by the time he gets to the NBA, he already knows how to deal with adversity. He's going to be a star.
And then he came into, I actually had a piece on that before. Steph Curry came into an adversity Warriors team.
Facts.
6-7 healthy players on the roster.
Facts.
So,
you know what I mean? Like, you know, so, and then I look at Lonzo, like, all of this controversy surrounding him with his father. So even like I remember in his freshman year at college, like there were players that were coming at Lonzo. The game with De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, they were
everybody wanted De'Aaron to eat Lonzo alive.
After the game, they've been talking about he had an interview fully on playing Lonzo. Like you had one of your greatest performances, and they're worrying about how would you feel playing Lonzo.
You know what I mean? Like every time like one of these plays, like Dennis Smith plays against Lonzo, it's like eat Lonzo. It's because his father's like, yo, this kid's better than Steph Curry. My boy's better than Steph Curry right now. And the same thing I think with Steph, where it's like you already knew he's a sharpshooter, like he's getting his hype. You want to eat him, and they forced they were double teaming him by the time he was a sophomore in college. That's crazy. Lonzo, I'm looking at the same thing. He has to go through all this adversity, and now he's the Lakers' second coming of Magic. The pressure that comes with that.
The pressure of that is like,
and he's chilling.
Everything has to increase. Your handles must increase. Your shooting must increase because they're coming for you. You can't come over there and be like, oh, I'm going to take a day off. Nah, you got to work.
Both of them have two things that can't be taught.
Yeah.
Length and passing.
Yes.
So the first side of it is in a defense of Frank and defense for Lonzo.
No, that could be taught.
They both are actually, you can't really teach what they have.
But I'm saying, you can't teach that dedication to it. That's probably
the instincts, I call it.
Oh, even that.
And the instinctual defense comes from youthful dedication.
Yeah.
Like when you dedicate yourself at a young age, you pick up things.
You start realizing when someone's going to, you start catching passing lanes.
Tendencies and shit. So Lonzo and Ntilikina have it. Ntilikina has a supreme ability of it. Whereas, like, I think Frank Ntilikina is a defensive star once in a lifetime. Lonzo is an offensive star once in a lifetime. I think that's what they make in the draft. They're one of one. So to me, Lonzo, he's 6'7", generational pantser. You don't teach that shit. Frank Ntilikina, 6'6", 18-year-old, 7'1" wingspan, plays defense from day one. You can't teach that. Those type of careers, at worst, they're going to be all-stars. That's their floor.
They have multiple ways of contributing to the team, regardless.
Fact. So when I look at Donovan Mitchell, he has a Dwayne Wade kind of like. So when I look at him, I think he could be the next Dwayne Wade. When I look at Ben Simmons, I think Rajon Rondo. Those are my direct comparisons. So that's how I see their career. So when people say like, "Well, is Ben Simmons the best player in the league?" Like, no. Like you got to do everything to be considered that. Like, when you start saying the best player in the NBA, and the reason LeBron was that, because he's one of the best defenders, he's one of the best rebounders, he's one of the best passers.
Ben Simmons,
he's one of the best scorers in the league.
He's having a good thing, but if he has no scorers around him, Ben Simmons can't score.
Like, what is that? 15 points a game? Like, you don't
if
like
that.
Like, if Embiid is not there and they really like
Boston
puts that defense on Philly, how do you score it?
Yo, think of this: if it's a final shot,
boy, that's a perfect.
Ben Simmons has the ball.
Like, what move?
No one's guarding him.
Like,
everyone's watching everyone else because it's like, you got to pass.
Like,
you're gonna shoot, yeah, rock out.
Go for it, champ. Go for it.
And that's what makes the difference. Whereas, like you said, Dwayne Wade with Donovan Mitchell. Mitchell gets the ball, you better put two guys on the guy because he's shooting that, and he's most likely making it.
But the difference I would make to the Mitchell and the Simmons thing was like they're somewhat equivalent in that sense, and I don't think they're transcendent stars because they're not what I call 5-star talents. Mm-hmm. So the reason I speak Alonzo and Frank Ntilikina, you can't show me a weakness in their game. And I hear a lot of people say like, "Oh, Lonzo Ball can't shoot." He shot 41% from three in college.
You can't shoot, or you don't like his shot.
Like, just because it looks funky, fine. Like, a lot of shots could look funky. LeBron's shot don't look picture perfect. Jordan's shot didn't look picture perfect.
Magic's shot looked hideous.
I did. Larry Bird, one of the best shooters ever. That does not look good. So
Sean Marion had that's an ugly shot.
The idea is it doesn't go in. You know what I mean? And it does. It does. Like, he shot 41% from three in college. That's higher than a lot of people, like even Ray Allen did in college, who became one of the best three-point shooters ever. You know what I mean? So to me, like, looking at that alone, y'all just looking at it and y'all not understanding it. You know, it's almost like if I look at a music video, I don't usually get the words of the song. You know what I mean? And it's like we're looking at the game, but we're not taking in the skills of these plays. Mm-hmm. So when I look at Lonzo, he has no weakness. He's a great rebounder. He's a generational passer. He can score the ball. Like, he can shoot. He can lay the ball up. He can dunk. He can get to the basket. Mm-hmm. And then he can play defense. He was one of the better man-to-man defenders. He knows good in team defense. He has a high basketball IQ. So when you look at the five, almost like in baseball, they call a 5-2 player. To me, those are what you call successful sports. So if I look at a wide receiver, there's usually 5 things a wide receiver needs to do to become a complete wide receiver. Same with a running back. Same with a quarterback. There's usually 5 pillars for each position in sports. And if you have no weakness, like for instance, Aaron Rodgers has no weakness to the quarterback position. He can run the ball. He can throw it for accuracy. He can throw it long. He can throw in the pocket. And he can throw intermediate passes.
And he has but I think also a quarterback you have to also add he has great awareness.
Yeah.
He has end game instincts. Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking like the 5 basic skills.
Well, to say that
he has all of that covered.
But that's what we know. He's
a 5-2 quarterback.
Like he's a 4-quarter quarterback. That's what
facts.
That's the way I like it.
That's a great example.
He's a 4-quarter. Like some players can do, like some quarterbacks can do that, but not every fucking quarter.
I agree with that.
That's where I'm.
You have 5-2 players that are 3-quarter players.
3-quarter players.
Like in that 4th quarter, they just start to fumble and they can't handle it.
Like it's like something happens. So yeah,
but
he's all the way. He's a 60-minute player. Like
correct. Whereas like
Dallas know a lot about that.
To me, it's like that's where you see that a player at a floor, no matter who picks them, they're gonna be a star. Like even Peyton Manning at the quarterback position, he's a 5-2 quarterback. In his original day, a lot of people say, "Oh, he can't run." No. In his first 3 years, he could run for a first down. Not until he became older, you see him almost never running out the pocket.
My thing is,
in the first 3 years, he could run for a first down.
He chose not to run, and I remember he had his. I think it was not until 2008. That was the first season he didn't have a rushing touchdown.
You know what I'm saying? So this idea, like, what I'm saying was the reason he's a legend, and the reason legends become legends, they can handle every point of the position. And the part where Carmelo slips to LeBron, Carmelo's not an elite defender. That's where he slips up. Like, okay, you're an elite offensive player, but you're not an elite passer. You're a good rebounder, but you're not an elite rebounder. Mm-hmm. So that's where Carmelo kind of like limits himself, but he could be an elite player. Mm-hmm. So with Ben Simmons, he can become an elite player, but offensively, the fact that his shooting might never become adequate, he's not a 5-2 player. But we look at Jason Tatum, he's a 5-2 player. What weakness does he have in his game? He can defend, he can shoot, he can pass. What else we have to do? Defend, shoot, pass.
And
he can dribble, like he can play make, and he can pass.
I always look at as the 4 factors. I think that's like the 4 factors for like a player: your shooting percentage, passing, rebounding, and turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you don't turn over the ball, you're obviously not losing the game that much. So I think that also comes into the fact of like.
To me, that's basketball IQ.
Yeah,
that's where the last part I put it as. Where it's like there's certain players that have all the talent in the world, but like John Wall, I think he has low basketball IQ.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely talented, but there's a separation between him and Chris Paul.
Like for some reason you can see when Wall I don't know, he goes nuts.
Yes,
like he'll
run into a wall. They call it. And even like Westbrook, I think that's one of Westbrook's like lower parts.
Yeah, like
he has everything in the world. His basketball IQ is not the same as Chris Paul or LeBron James.
Sometimes Westbrook can have a quadruple double with turnovers.
Yes,
he's been very close a few times.
And it's like he has all the skills, but he's not elite at IQ.
And I think where James Harden was very close on that, where he was leading with turnovers, and then you can see this year it's almost been. He's calmed down.
Oh, yeah.
Where that turnovers has dropped.
Well part of it is like he doesn't have to have the ball in his hand as much. Chris Paul also is teaching him how to be more careful with the ball. Chris Paul is one of the best turnover to assist ratio ever. I think he actually has the best ratio.
He might, most likely.
I think it's him and Stockton, or he might have surpassed Stockton this year.
Speaking of Westbrook, that was like part of one of my alternative views.
So we can run right into our alternative views?
Yeah, I'll speak of that real quickly. It's a very short one, but the fact of we've been like listening about, MVPs of the season.
Mm-hmm.
We've been hearing some talks of LeBron James, Kevin Durant, James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
These has been like Anthony Davis. This has been our top 4 mainly. But the one name that's probably been like on 5th, 6th, or maybe some on some lists is Russell Westbrook. And I just think that a player of his caliber, like, we've never seen a triple-double in my eyes. We only heard of it with Walt. But we've never seen it. He's done it in back-to-back seasons. And as I mentioned earlier, with 2 different rosters.
Crazy.
A whole slate of rosters where the team has brought in 2 different superstar talented-minded players. Whereas Paul George was the star of his team in Indiana. Carmelo was the star of his team in New York.
Good.
And
franchise players.
These players came into his play, like, as you see, like, all right, we brought up James, LeBron James going, and was Chris Bosh going to Miami with Dwayne Wade. Wade's numbers took a little drop when LeBron and Bosh came. It came as a good team, but his numbers dropped as far as points per game and etc. as far as rebounding. Whereas Westbrook bringing 2 stars and his numbers only stayed the same, or if got better. And the fact that his name not being mentioned, I think sometimes we get so used to, like, well, I think I had this conversation last year where they say LeBron can't win MVP because he does this on a regular. That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make any sense. Like, how is this year compared to last year?
This year is this year.
Like, if I did it last year and I could do it this year, I think that's even more impressive rather than less impressive. So that's why we get to this whole, we had a little argument about the Donovan Mitchell and Ben Simmons. It's where you're not looking at how a player contributes to that team. Like, this team is almost falls apart without Westbrook.
Almost.
No, because I think Paul George could hold the team down if he has to in certain occasions. But I even seen where they rest Westbrook and Paul George was leading the team, and they lost, I think, to Phoenix. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong with which bad team they lost to. Either Phoenix or Atlanta. I think it was Atlanta that they lost to without only Westbrook playing. So I say that to say this, like, we got to put this mention that this man did average another triple-double into a season with better players. And he's not even topped in the mention as a potential MVP. I know we get it. And then we're doing this thing with James Harden. Oh, he should have won it 3 years ago, so he should get it now. What?
I do that too.
No. I'm saying I get it. But you got to really think about that. Like, yeah, I think James Harden should have won it probably last year. Or he probably could have won it this year. He's probably going to win it this year, but you can't not mention Russell Westbrook as an MVP candidate for this year again. And that's my alternative view.
That's a great alternative view. And it's funny, I've thought about that. I've never I've never actually like heard it verbalized, but it's something I thought about it because I was thinking in terms of like the fact that he had a back-to-back triple doubles and the fact that this is a whole new roster. Like I don't think we're really giving him at all. I just thought that I don't think he was getting enough positive shot. I heard a lot of people saying like he held back this person. Like there was a bunch of negativity.
Yeah,
about,
he takes too much shots.
Like stat padding.
He passes too much.
Yeah, like he stat pads and like he's the reason that Carmelo struggled and Paul George might leave to go to LA. And that's what I heard after the season was over. Like he failed the big three and like he's the reason they didn't get over the hump. I heard Colin Cowherd. He was saying that Westbrook is the reason that the team doesn't get better. By him getting all those stats, he holds back his teammates, which doesn't make sense. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, do you not understand the concept of when Westbrook grabs a rebound, he now
automatic fast break
allows Adams to get a fast break on that center.
But I don't hear people saying that like LeBron James takes too many rebounds. Like LeBron James version does the same thing. He averages 9 rebounds, but he gets it off and he goes up and he virtues their point guard. He's been there for a lot of his career. He's almost their point guard by de facto.
And then I heard on this season,
Magic Johnson was something like that too.
And then I heard in this season, he doesn't take enough shots. He's passing too much. In that final game, where the last couple of games against Utah, all he did was score.
He was trying to get it. Like
anytime they was down 15 because the rest of the players can do it, he put them back every single time.
And I tell you all the time, Russell Westbrook right now is the closest thing to Jordan since Kobe.
Yo.
Like matter of fact, I wouldn't even say Kobe because Kobe can't do this that Westbrook is doing. And Jordan was the last one that had this kind of like mode where I'm 100% at you from the start of the game to the end of the game. You haven't had a person like that since Jordan that was wanted to kill you from the time the game started to the time the game ended, and it wasn't no friends.
I agree with you 100% with that because I feel like Jordan and Westbrook have like the same mentality, like when you said that 100% thing, and they have that chip on their shoulder.
Like they want to kill you.
Like they're really tight about being passed up.
Like they feel disrespected.
And every game they bring it up.
Like Westbrook even winning the MVP would still feel like, nah, they still don't think that I'm the dude.
You know what? I can prove that when during this All-Star season, they said what you would call it? They was trying to joke and say that Westbrook's gonna get picked last. And he was getting a little tight about the situation. And then when they found out, he was like, "I wasn't picked first." That's that same chip in the shoulder where he's just like you're just like everyone sees you as probably the greatest, one of the best players to do it.
And the reason I give some more with the whole Jordan perspective, when they asked Jordan how did he feel about the whole Kevin Durant move, the LeBron move, he's like I'm a competitor. Like I don't want to play with them. Like, I would never want to play with Reggie Miller. I don't want to play against Clyde Drexler. Like, these are the people that they were measuring up to me. I want to make sure that the world knows that they're not as good as me. So, and Westbrook was the same thing. When they asked him about the Kevin Durant thing, he's like, I don't want to play with the Warriors. I want to beat them. Like, I don't want to play with Steph. I want to beat Steph. Like, that's who I'm looking at as this is who I need to prove I'm good against.
And I think going into the season, like, I know people will be like, Westbrook probably tight because he didn't get to face the Warriors, and I think that's incomplete. I think that's false. Mm-hmm. I think Westbrook is tight because of Donovan Mitchell. I think next year he wants that Utah team again because that's the one that took him out. He's not worried about the team that took him out 2 years ago. He's talking about the team that was taking him out this year. So move on. Like I don't think Westbrook looks beyond his initial challenger. Like I don't think he looks beyond that person.
I think that's the same with Jordan. Like you have to stay focused within your challenge now. Otherwise you're gonna lose your focus.
And I really think, and I was gonna bring up, I think OKC lost that. I think a lot of those players felt that we're going past this team, and I think they allowed this Utah team to almost sweep them under the rug in a sense where it was like, oh, these kids really can shoot. Like they've been doing it all year. Like I think the team just failed to believe that they can lose to this team, and they did. And I think that's what happened. I see no problem in Westbrook's game in that series
at all.
So the fact that and then I'm not even bringing it up into that series, I'm bringing it to the season. He should be MVP. Or a potential MVP up there. I think he should be out there as that number 1 and 2, 3 person of could he be MVP of this year?
I thought he should definitely have been considered more. And then when you think about it, like
whole different squad.
Like just what he's doing, we've never seen before. And that should be enough for us to be like, yo, if Jordan couldn't average a triple-double, and this is considered the GOAT. If LeBron, who we thought would have been the first player to really average triple-doubles, is not doing it, then how on earth can we now just turn around and just pretend like, but I guess it comes back to, he's not doing it the way the media would prefer him, and he's not a media darling.
Yeah.
Like if he was Chris Paul or he was somebody that was on commercials that was more.
I think he gets more showcased in that sense.
Like Steph Curry even. Like Steph Curry is a very easy person to market.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes it easy for you to love him and love the little. But where's Westbrook? He's demonstrative.
Honestly, the only time Westbrook really was when what's that kid that was there with him when they used to do the beginning celebration dances. Cameron Payne.
Yes.
So when they did that, that's when Westbrook was mainly just like out there. But once that was gone, it's just like
when he had James with him. Him and Harden was like real players with each other. You know what I'm saying?
Besides that, but then now it's just like you just forget like Westbrook's still balling.
And I think a lot of people don't realize is the Kevin Durant thing. Like he says all the time, like that was my brother, and the fact that he never, like we had dinner and he didn't even call me to tell me that he was going. I think after that, yes, when you saw him in this, like I'm not even smiling with the media no more. Because before that, he didn't have all these like back and forth with the media where there's all this democracy.
Like sometimes he'll be like a little like
he'll be a little pissed off, but he never was this way. He was always still positive and fun loving with the heart in town.
But then now when you lose,
but then when Durant left him, and then the media brought it like he's the reason. I think that's why he was so defensive since that moment.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, Durant left because he was costing him. Like, because of you, Durant didn't have fun playing basketball.
I blame the media's the reason why he's averaging triple doubles.
Yeah. Shout out to the media. But even with Jordan, because Jordan would say, like, the media's like, I can't do this. I can't do that. And then I would have to force whoever was guarding me to eat that through the media. Like, the whole thing he said with Jeff Van Gundy, he said, Jordan, all he does is he peppers up people. He makes them think like he's a friend. And then he could just come out there and abuse him. She's a shyster. And he was like, why would you even say that about me? Like Pat's my mans. But just because you said that, I'm going to violate the Knicks the next time I see them because you're coaching them. I want you to understand I violate people because I want to win this game. I want people to know that I'm the nicest ever. It has nothing to do with y'all. That's my mans. Mm-hmm. After the game, we're going to still have lunch together. Mm-hmm. But I'm playing. I don't care who's on the other side. I want them to realize I'm the greatest to ever do this. Mm-hmm. And I think Westbrook has that in him. It's like, I don't care if it's the Warriors. I don't care if it's Cleveland. I don't care if it's LeBron James. I don't care if it's Kevin Durant. I don't care if it's Popovich. I want y'all to understand that when I lace up, this might be my last time lacing up. You're going to get the best that I could bring every inch of me.
Honestly, if God could lace up some sneakers, Westbrook would dunk on them. I can say that with confidence.
Nice. I would agree, though. I think, because Westbrook is that, and I think to that point, and I used to tell people I think Dwayne Wade was the closest version I had seen to Jordan, more so than Kobe. Because I think Kobe was what you call a show-off still. Mm-hmm. Like, Jordan was serious about beating you. Kobe wanted to shine on you a lot. Whereas Wade he's not trying to shine on you. And Wade is also a supreme defender. Mm-hmm. Might be the best shot blocking shooting guard of his era. Or even ever, but I can't say because I don't know the 60s that well. Mm-hmm. I don't know like the 50s that well. Like, you don't really know who's the best shot blocking two guard of the 50s. That's
especially those numbers weren't really counted.
Yeah, blocks I don't think was recorded to like 60 something. So it's like it's missing somewhere. So, but Wade of his era for sure is the best shot blocking two guard. Mm-hmm. And to that point, Kobe was a good defender. For a couple years, he was an elite defender. For a couple years, Dwayne Wade his entire career was an elite shooting guard defender. Elite. And that's why I think he's closer to Jordan, where it's like he just wanted to take you out your fucking game. Whichever way possible, Wade will take you out of your game. Mm-hmm. And you can't stop him. To Kobe, where I've seen defense force Kobe to take bad shots, I've never seen a defense make Dwayne Wade take bad shots.
Because he practiced bad shots.
No, what I mean is like, he just never took like a bad, like with Kobe, he'll take a fadeaway that nobody thought had a chance to go in. Mm-hmm. Even himself, he'll be like, yo, I just had an open, I took it. Whereas with Dwayne Wade, it's always what he wants to do. Mm-hmm. And that to me is closer again to Jordan. Mm-hmm. Like nobody's ever forced Jordan to do anything outside of what he wanted to do. Whereas Kobe's adjusted to the other side.
You gotta watch out with those words because people hear that closest to Jordan and don't hear that.
I don't care. I don't care. Like, yo, I don't care about that ignorance no more. Like you could bring the Stephen A to Skip Bayless on to me, like, because to me it's like, yo, if you don't have a conversation with me, I don't care what your opinion is. Yeah. So when you come out here and I hear the Tracy McGrady or the Scottie Pippen saying, yo, Stephen A is wrong, yo, when your opinions come off of like Kanye's wrong for saying that slave lived in this, like, if you only want to argue against a sentence, we have no argument.
That's it.
So when T.I. went to meet Kanye and actually they spoke about it, T.I. can now say, I have my opinion on Kanye. The rest of y'all can't.
They can't. You never had a conversation. So
Like,
at the end of the day,
so somebody's like, yo, you're wrong. That Wade is the closest thing to Jordan. Sure, what's your opinion? Let's talk. But if you just want to say, I'm wrong, I'm never going to, I don't care what you got to say. And like I'm saying to that point, Westbrook is the closest person to Jordan since Jordan. Period. I don't want to hear what about Kobe? Oh, because Kobe's not as close as Westbrook is. That's the point I'm making.
Kobe had the best
And
imitation.
Kobe imitated him. He grew up mentoring.
Kobe had the best imitation of
facts. The fadeaway jumpers, like he played the game most like Jordan because he imitated. But as far as mentality and skills and like impact on the game, because like when Westbrook is done, he's gonna have his name up a lot more than Kobe. No disrespect. I love Kobe. LeBron's already surpassed him. Westbrook will surpass him if he gets a ring.
Mm-hmm.
If Westbrook never wins a championship, he still will be on par with Kobe. Just over them triple doubles, he's in a history space that Kobe can't reach. Jordan can't reach.
Regardless.
That was an amazing alternative view, though.
Yeah, thank you.
So, I mean, for my alternative view, I found myself being disrespected over a line that I heard. And it was all for love. But then people took it out of the love context. So the other day, Isaiah Thomas said, hands down, Brad Stevens is the best head coach in the league. And I thought that was just like a good thing for a former player to say. That might probably go back to play for him this year. Mm-hmm. I think everything is setting up for Isaiah to return there. The fact that, Danny Ainge still was apologetic for trading him. Danny Ainge felt like he didn't really want to trade Isaiah. Boston still really loves Isaiah.
He never got to see his tribute video.
I feel like everything is lining up now that like the Lakers are like, yo, we're not even going to try to sign you back. Everything is lining up for Isaiah to get his money with the team that probably should have paid him anyway. And it's like that he might back up Kyrie, and it would be a good fit anyway.
Like we said earlier, Marcus Smart already.
I think Marcus Smart's going.
Yeah,
but I think he got to get paid. If Terry Rozier got it, somebody got
to get paid, and they still got to pay Hayward. But let me get to
right. So, I thought it was nice. I thought it was amazing that he said that, but I thought he was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw like a lot of people came out after the Coach of the Year award came out and saw that Brad Stevenson got no votes and said, how is this possible? How can Brad Stevenson, after all those injuries, and as great as a coach he's been, not get no votes? And I thought, like, for the regular season, based on, like, all 30 coaches, I don't think he was a top 5 coach for Coach of the Year. That's just the way I picture that. I got guys in front of him. Like, I have Nate McMillan with the Pacers, Terry Scott with the Portland Trail Blazers. I have Brett Brown with the 76ers above him. You know what I mean? Like these,
you could even make the case of Tyronn Lue changing that whole roster and still being a competitor.
And then on top of that, I got Dwayne Casey actually winning it.
Yeah.
And I got Quinn Snyder with the Utah Jazz above him. You know, so he had a rookie and he got in the playoffs. Like, you know what I mean? Like in the West. That's harsh. So
and not just the playoffs. Y'all made it to the second round.
Word. So I got 5 coaches above him. And it's not knocking Brad Stevens. So then I also went into to be like, not only he wasn't the best coach this year, my turn review was like, he's not even the best head coach in the league right now. That's a dub. Like that's ridiculous. So it's like I had to go in and look at a few things. I'll make it quick. This is not going to take long for me to make my point. So let's start off with Brad Stevens' career here. First year, 2013-14, Boston. They went 25-57. Is that the best coach in the NBA? Does that sound like the best coach? The second year, they went 40-42, snuck in the playoffs. The third year, 48-34, did well. Fourth year, best record in Eastern Conference, 53 wins. This year, 55 wins. Not knocking that at all.
That's an amazing effort right there.
Those are very good numbers.
That's back-to-back career.
That's enough for me to say that's an elite coach. Yes. But now let's go into the second side of it that I want to actually get into. Which is like, you're only as good as the players you have. Like, Tyronn Lue is not even in the same breath as Brad Stevenson. And we talking head coaches. It's not even the same. Like, one of them is a starter, the other one is the 15th man on the bench. That's the gap that I have between Brad Stevens and Tyronn Lue. And I'm not trying to knock Tyronn Lue. I think he's a very good coach. Like, if I go out of the 30 coaches in the NBA, I think Tyronn Lue is like the 9th, 10th, or 11th best coach in the NBA. Like, he's not a bad coach. But I'm just saying the gap between him and Stevens is huge. So, I'm not saying he's a bad coach. But part of why he looks that good, let's give some credit to Danny Ainge. After that Nets trade, the talent that he's been able to bring back in has been enormous. So I'll just give a quick, I made a tweet a couple days ago. I'm just give you a quick 5 players right now with the Celtics that's dominating that a lot of people are saying are giving the credit to just Stevens off of. 5 players. We could get further into more players on the Celtics roster in a second, but let's start with these 5. Al Horford. He was a 2007 third overall pick in the draft. That's third overall pick in the draft. He was considered the second coming of a franchise center when he was drafted. This is the guy playing for Brad Stevens. That is not a slouch. He's also been a multiple-time All-Star. It's not a bum. There's not somebody that Brad Stevenson is making good. No, this kid is a very talented guy that will be good in most systems. He was with Brad with Atlanta when they won 60 games. And he was the focal point of that team. This is Al Horford. Just because he doesn't average Anthony Davis or DeMarcus Cousins numbers, we sort of assume that he's not that good because of the numbers don't look that good. But let's not get him mistaken. He's a very talented player.
This is the one that was blocking Embiid.
Fact. Made Embiid look like a baby. Let's go into the next guy here. Marcus Smart. 2014 6th overall pick in the draft. Considered the best defensive guard of that entire draft. Is there a reason why? For some reason, the Boston Celtics are the best defense in the East? But Al Horford, best defensive center in that draft. Marcus Smart, best defensive guard in that draft. Do we see a pattern here? Like, these are elite talents growing up in the NBA. You could have had any coach. They would have grew up on their watch. Now, next guy. 2015 here. Terry Rozier. 2015 16th overall pick. Was considered a steal because he fell. Was projected to go 9th in the draft that year. Was considered the second coming of Damian Lillard. This is not why. This is not an undrafted free agent. This is not a G Leaguer that Brad Stevens has coached up. Now, to the Isaiah Thomas point, yes. Isaiah Thomas had his best years with Brad Stevens. That's one of Brad Stevens' best jobs. Isaiah was an MVP candidate, and he was the last pick of a draft. He was the 16th pick in the draft. So, that point, yes. That's a good point. And that's why, again, Isaiah is calling him the best coach in the league. Of course. That's his best coach. He has had his best success with this coach. Let's move on. Jaylen Brown, 2016 third overall pick, was considered possibly the best player in the entire draft. Came out as a freshman and wasn't sure if he had 2 guard or a 3. Is the reason that he fell to 3. Is he a shooting guard? Is he a small forward? To this moment, we still don't really know what is a better position for him. You can't really tell because he can score well, but he can guard threes. Anybody. You know what I'm saying? So he could play either well, but again, that's a reason for you to fall back in the draft when you can't be sure how you're going to fit. Let's move on. 2017, third overall pick, Jason Tatum. By some, Phil Jackson actually considered him the best prospect in the draft. Danny Ainge thought that he was the best prospect in the draft.
I remember coming into the season before they picked him, you compared him to Melo.
Yeah. I said offensively,
he was
like Melo, but I feel like he was like Danny Granger. I still hold that to this moment. I said like he's a rich man's Danny Granger. Like Danny Granger was a good player that was on the borderline of becoming a franchise player, and he got hurt. Paul George came in.
About to say he's kind of like Paul George in a sense.
Well, I say now because Paul George is not like Danny Granger was. The reason I say because Paul George came into the league as a sniper. Yeah. Paul George is an elite 3-point shooter that was an elite steals guy. Like he could get a lot of steals. In college, he led college in steals, but could shoot from long range. So now he comes into the league, and you see him develop his offensive game, which came along. He wasn't much of a playmaker.
Not at all.
And you see his defense as a whole come on. Like originally, he was really just a pickpocketer. He could steal. Like he'd get into passing lanes very well. Actually, led the league in deflections this year. That's who Paul George is. Whereas Danny Granger, man to man, he was a great defender. Like that's why he would guard LeBron James in those matchups. And he also was a good offensive player. Like he could shoot, he could do everything well, but nothing elite. And that's why I compared a little bit. And that's why I think Danny Granger is more of a good.
Because he said a rich.
Yeah, a rich man, Danny Granger.
He can shoot way better.
Because defensively, he's a good man defender.
Yeah.
He's not much of steals. He's not much of blocks, but a man defender. Danny Granger is a very good man defender. He came in the league as that. And offensively, He can do everything well. And that's why a lot of people pointed to the Melo idea, like, yeah, he can do everything offensively, and that's Melo. But to me, it's like, I'm not going to give him Melo because Melo was never a good defender.
Yeah.
In no sense of the matter.
And so you can't give him just a player.
Yeah, at all. I'm not even going to make that comparison.
Yes.
And not to mention, he's not even the level offensive player that Melo is. I think that's a poor... Like, Melo was, from college, a rare offensive talent. Like, he could have won a 3-point contest, but also post you up with like a big man could.
Yeah.
As a freshman. That's unheard of. Whereas, like, Tatum, like, he can put you in the pinch post. Like, he could post up somebody smaller than him. Melo from day one could post up guys bigger than him. That's unheard of. And he was a sniper from day one. Like, Jason Tatum could shoot, but those are open shots. Like, Melo is jabbing people and shooting threes in their face in college. That's like, Melo to this day, there's nothing like Melo offensively. He's a one-on-one for his generation. We'll have to wait till we find another guy like him. So when they started pointing, like, the better comparison I heard people mention to Jason Tatum when I first saw him was Allen Houston. Where Allen Houston could do everything offensively. Was a very good shooter. That was a better comparison. Like, well, Allen also was a pretty good man defender, but wasn't a great shot blocker. He's not steals, but a good man defender. Great comparison was Allen Houston. But for me, rich man Danny Granger. But I mean, to quickly finish off this, the point here is Brad Stevens is a great coach. People just love to say who's the best coach because of what they see. Brad Stevens is good at a lot of things that illuminate coaching. So as in the things that you would look at and say, oh, wow, that coach is better than that coach. Stevens does well at that. There's other things like D'Antoni is very good at things behind the scenes. So you won't be able to see a lot of the reason that make D'Antoni the supreme coach. You'll just be like, oh, wow, James Harden has become way better under D'Antoni. But I can explain it. Like D'Antoni does something called, it's called a trail screen, which opens up the court. Where basically he makes his big man set screens at half court and beyond the 3-point line. Back in the day, the idea is like, why would you set a screen for somebody when they're not in the position to shoot the ball after you set the screen? That seems ignorant. Like you're setting a screen and you're not even making him open the score now. He has to still do something now to do. But D'Antoni's idea is the court becomes spread. So if I set a screen at half court and let James Harden or Steve Nash or Jeremy Lin go downhill, nobody can get in front of him. It forces everybody to have to come in, and now shooters become wide open, or Jeremy Lin can get to the basket fairly easily, or James Harden or Steve Nash. That's what makes D'Antoni special, but he's not going to be able to explain that to your typical NBA fan. But now when you see Brad Stevenson make a adjustment, and you quickly see how he made Ben Simmons completely struggle, because he's now made, every time Ben Simmons gets the weave, he can no longer go to the basket with his right hand. Ben Simmons no longer can get to the paint. Now Ben Simmons cannot be the player that he is. So quickly we look at Brad Stevens like, wow, that adjustment, that's great. Look at all the adjustments he's making. But part of it is he has the players to make that adjustment.
These players have been known to do that. It's not like, oh, this is what I want you to do. Just
like
it's a simple, this is what I just do this.
If you ask, let's say, Carmelo Anthony to do exactly what that is. So the move that they did was every time Ben Simmons would fake to make a pass, which is a swing pass to J.J. Redick, you have to now shift your defense to Redick because Redick can shoot that off the swing. And that allows now Ben Simmons to basically fake the ball, and now he has complete space to drive the ball left or right hand, right?
And either score or pass or whatever.
So what Brad Stevenson did is he forced now the guy that's guarding Ben Simmons to basically switch on Redick, and the guy that's guarding Redick to sit on Ben Simmons' right hand. Now Ben Simmons cannot drive to a strong hand anymore. He takes away the driving lane. And now the man that jumps J.J. Redick, it takes away the jump shot. So now the thing that was making Simmons successful, that's completely annihilated. It's annihilated now. You can't get back to your strong hand, and you can't shoot. So now that they gave you the space where it's a shot for you and not Redick, you can't even take it.
And then one-on-one, Horford matches up with Embiid. So it's like...
So like not like you just now swing it to him and it gives back Simmons an advantage. It doesn't. But for the point that I'm making, it makes Brad Stevenson look like a genius. But first he needs to make the adjustment. Second, he needs the talent to be actually able to put that in play. So I'm gonna go ahead.
And any NBA head coach should be able to make an adjustment.
Right. That's why they got at that level. All these guys have went to like Division I college. They've been assistants in the NBA. They've actually played on the NBA.
They should be able to have that common sense.
They all could do that.
That's a good point.
So, now, I do think Brad Stevenson is a top 5 coach in the NBA. I do agree with that. But there's 3 coaches that are hands down better than him that don't even make sense for you to say that he's the best head coach in the league. Coach number 1, Steve Kerr. Just simply off the streak that they've won 2 out of the last 3 championships, and he's the head coach. Just off of that alone, they've been the top-rated offense and top-rated defense for 2 out of the last 3 years. They've won 73 games more than anybody else under his watch. Till he goes anywhere, he's not losing at least a top 3 look.
And not even that, like, even some of the young cast, like, what's the kid, Cook and such like that?
Yeah.
These are younger kids that they're bringing in that were just, that are just taking that same place of
they're being developed by Kerr.
Yeah.
Really. We've seen Cameron Durant have his best defensive seasons under Steve Kerr.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, what, Steve Kerr doesn't no defense?
Mm-hmm.
Swing it out. So now we also got Mike D'Antoni.
Mm-hmm.
How does Brad Stevenson get better than Mike D'Antoni? Like, Mike D'Antoni is the father of an entire new movement. Like, we have games that end 130 to 128, no overtime, in 4 quarters now. That's because of D'Antoni. So, how is Brad Stevenson, who's never won a championship, better than this head coach? That is now, we've seen him take 3 separate teams to dominant formats.
I can guess what number 3 is. They gotta be Pop.
Yes. Yes. And number 1 coach in the league right now, that means Greg Popovich. That's going nowhere. For the better of a decade now, he's dominated as a coach. Like, where do you cut? And then his assistants get snatched up quick. Now,
who's in his team is a star elsewhere at this point?
At this point?
Besides Leonard, who didn't play.
All right. Damn. Jesus Christ. Like, I mean, Aldridge is still a star.
But it's still like borderline.
Yeah, he would be like Kevin Love now. Like that kind of like level star. He wouldn't be like Anthony Davis. He's not that top 20 star no more.
Yeah, he's that first one. It's like, okay, he's okay.
I know.
Everyone else in there is 35 up.
Like Ginobili's retired. Parker needs to hang it up. So in that sense, like, yo, Popovich is the guy. So like you can toggle over who's number 4. You can throw up in the air who's number 4. Like whoever want to fill out that list. Like, because that's all subjective on opinion. But to me, the top 3, D'Antoni, Kerr, Popovich, that's not even questionable. Some people throw in the Rick Carlisle as one of the best coaches in the league. I don't subscribe to that. I've now watched him now with the last 2 to 3 years of that Dallas team, and I thought that they had more than enough talent for what I saw from them.
The fact that I think they either had the same record as Atlanta or close to, like the fact that like the talent in that team.
Dennis Smith should have, in my opinion, was a rookie of the year favorite for me. And the fact that I didn't think he had a good year for what the talent I thought that he had.
In that team, but I just don't understand how they still can't win.
And he would be playing veterans to win games and then not win games. Like you got J.J. Barrett and what's the other guy named? They got traded to Denver, Harris. You got those 2 players playing a lot of minutes with Dirk, and it's a bunch of old players, but you're losing. So what are you doing? When you got Harrison Barnes, and I felt like since Harrison Barnes went over there, if Carlisle is this kind of head coach, Harrison Barnes was considered Glenn Rice coming out of college. We knew that he had to take a back seat for Steph and Clay, but he still was averaging 16 points in that, and they won 73 games with him at the starting 3. So now he gets the big contract, he gets the green light now with Dallas, and he doesn't get better. So I'm gonna have to say that's the coach.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
I'm gonna have to call that the coach. So it's like when people say Carlisle is one of the best coaches in the league, I don't buy it no more. Like maybe he was at one point, or maybe he was with a different staff, but with the last 3 years, no sir, no siree. Like this is bad. This is not good at all coaching. Mm-hmm. So, but the 3 coaches that I will say though is on par with Brad Stevens as being some of the best young coaches. Because really, Brad Stevens is one of the best young coaches. Mm-hmm. The senior coaches, like I'm saying, D'Antoni, Pop, Kerr, they're not even in the same class as these guys. They got championships and years of resumes that you just can't even compare yet because you don't have it. Mm-hmm. Like, Brad has had 5 years, man. Like, you don't have it yet. Yeah. So for me, it's like Mike Budenholzer is one of those guys. Mm-hmm. One of these best young coaches that will compare to Brad Stevens. Eric Spoelstra is above Brad Stevens to me. You just can't somehow give Brad Stevens when Spoelstra coached the big 3 as a rookie coach and won championships. And now they've left. He's had under-talented Miami teams in the playoffs. So don't give me this whole Brad Stevenson where his top sponsor don't even have the talent that Stevenson has in Boston. Like Hassan Whiteside was not a lottery pick. Fucking Josh Richardson was not a lottery pick. Gordon Dragic was not a lottery pick. I could go down the list. And they what, 7th, 6th in the East? So no. Spoelstra's a better coach right now. And then lastly, I got my man Quinn Snyder with Utah. What he's done the last 2-3 years with creating an elite defense with not the most talented players. Like he has Gobert and Ingles, Rubio, and before it was like Hayward and like a bunch of like scraps, so to speak. Now I mentioned like some of these are high draft picks that have didn't develop on the previous coaches. But to say that he's created this environment and got him in the playoffs in that dirty West, Snyder needs a little bit more credit.
A Utah team that hasn't been in a playoff team for a while. Yeah,
back to back.
With two different with a rookie.
And he lost his franchise player. Gordon Hayward came back with a rookie and a whole new backcourt. Rubio and Donovan Mitchell, brand new backcourt, got back in the playoffs again. In the West. That's significant to say. In the West. Develop Donovan Mitchell. Where's Rick Carlisle? What you do with Dennis Smith?
What you do with Yogi? I like that kid Yogi.
What you do with Harrison Barnes? Wesley Matthews signed a big deal over there. How did that go over there?
Carlson. Chandler Parsons too.
Rondo decided he didn't want to play for you no more. Like I don't even want to go back in the game.
He's good.
Like I'm good. Like I realized that this is it for me. Like I'm good at this.
And I think I've been saying it a long time. I appreciate what Nowitzki has done for that organization.
I appreciate it. Taking pay cuts. Well, my point is that's
what
bad coaching
getting
is.
So much minutes.
He's not though. And Dirk even says like, yo, you could take some more minutes back. Dirk is continuously saying, I'm only here to help develop who was going to take over the team. Like, I've loved Dallas so much. I'm giving y'all my last couple years to use me to develop who you want to develop. Almost like Tim Duncan did.
I'm not
those last few years in San Antonio. I'm going to help Kawhi before I leave so Kawhi is ready when I leave. But for some reason.
Why is he always starting?
But Tim Duncan was still. I don't have a problem with it because like, he plays 21 minutes. Like 21 minutes is no minutes.
Yeah,
Dirk is not playing heavy minutes. And it's simply he's just starting off of his head, his name. And technically there's nobody better than him. There's nobody better than him. Like they continuously brought in the New Orleans well.
Yeah, there you go.
Was brought in to become the power forward of the future that for some reason Carlisle said that we never got on the same page. He never did what is it that not get on the same page? Like I don't even see this kid on the court. He was a top 4 player that was considered a defensive star that has not even got on the court. You know why? Because we want to see stats. We want to see him put the ball in the basket. We want to see, but that's the Joakim Noah effect. Joakim Noah is a supreme defensive player. If you want to look at him by his numbers, you will never appreciate who he is. You will never. It's almost like Dennis Rodman.
Honestly,
you will never appreciate who Dennis Rodman is if you look at just numbers.
There's a person that's getting more clout now is Clint Capella.
Yes,
because he's scoring more.
Exactly.
But yet he's been a defensive anchor for a while.
And he's like, oh wow, he can actually play defense. Sweet kid the league has. A shot blocker kid, a rim protector kid, that you hope that eventually would develop some kind of offense. Like Rudy Gobert.
Like Winslow.
But at the same time, the casual fan the casual fan doesn't get this. Yeah. So that's why my problem is when it's like not casual fans making these points. When I'm seeing analysts on ESPN and on the Sports Nation, y'all winning the league. Y'all playing in the league. Like some of y'all were former coaches. And y'all have some of these perspectives. It's like, yo, what you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? So this is my perspective. The next time I hear like Brad Steve's the best coach in the NBA, if that's your man, state that. But let's not keep it like no, that's not the case.
That's true. That's an excellent alternative view. That's a great point, man.
And to be the best head coach in the league, it requires talent. So the best head coach in the league might be somebody in Phoenix. Mm-hmm. But because of that team, you'll never realize that's the best head coach in the league. Mm-hmm. And that happens often. Like Jeff Hornacek, to me, is one of the better head coaches in the league. That has now been effed over several times. David Fizdale had just got effed over. Mm-hmm. Fortunately for him, it looks like he's going into a situation where he gets a chance. And that's my alternative.
Yeah, that was a dope one. That was a dope alternative view. I think it's a great point, especially about Brad Stevens. Like, when you put the numbers in perspective, it doesn't make sense. Players really makes him greater than he's perceived to be.
Like, And then who we comparing Brad Stevenson to? Like I hear people say like, and I get into arguments with Knicks fans on Twitter. Maybe too often that. Like a lot of them think that Emmanuel Mudiay is washed up, and I'm telling them like, yo, that's just ignorance. This is
He's like
the seventh overall draft. He's 22, just turned 22. He's the seventh overall draft pick. Now, skipped college to make $1 million, so his mother never had to work no more. Went to China. Stephon Marbury said, he's a better version of Derrick Rose that I saw. He might be better than John Wall because he actually has great basketball IQ. Like what everybody said from Mudiay from day one is that he has high basketball IQ. That's why Phil Jackson thought that he would fit with the triangle offense. Mm-hmm. When he's like, I went with Porzingis over Mudiay, and a lot of Knicks fans wanted Mudiay. Now, I hear people saying Mudiay struggles to finish at the basket. His shot looks like trash. He's not in good shape. These are the 3 points that everybody seems to mention about Emmanuel Mudiay. Now, let's go ahead. He never was said he had a good jump shot. That's the only thing has been his weakness. That's what you want to point out? That's like pointing out that Rajon Rondo struggles shooting the ball. Or like LeBron James has been like he struggles shooting the ball. Like, that's their worst thing about them. Second thing, he struggles at finishing at the basket. You know, there's 2 players in particular that had that problem. That when they were young, that somehow changed as they got older. Russell Westbrook, James Harden. 2 players that both struggled at finishing at the basket in their early years. Why? When you're young, you do not get calls. The refs are not going to give you calls just because you got body contact at the rim. You're not going to get it till you earn those and become a star. Mudiay is not a star. So every time he goes to the basket and goes through contact and misses the leg, they're like, oh, he just can't finish at the basket. No, that's probably a foul. Like the reason he hit the ground and fell. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's 6'5". It's the reason why he fell to the ground. That doesn't mean that he can't finish at the basket. Yeah. That means those are probably fouls.
Yeah.
Third point. He's inconsistent. You tell me a young player under 22 that's consistent that has had 3 different coaches all those years. I'll wait. Like, name me the player. I'll name you the player. It can't be possible. You can't switch coaches and then become consistent when you're a young player. Like, Joe Wall was never consistent in the beginning. Why? Not till he's had now Scott Brooks for the last 3 years, you can say, oh, this is John Wall. This is who he's going to be. So, and then that's why I feel like the best reason for David Fizdale to become the Knicks head coach is Emmanuel Mudiay. This is the player that he can help the most. The player that most draft pundits compared Emmanuel Mudiay to was Tariq Evans. Tariq Evans just had his best year under David Fizdale. Isn't that a little ironic? And David Fizdale even made that point on ESPN the other day. He was like, I really think Mudiay could be a great player, and I had a player just like him in Tariq Evans. What we did was with Tariq Evans, we played to his strengths. A lot of teams would have make these kids play like Westbrook or make them play like Steph because that's successful. But at the end of the day, if you don't play to that kid's strength, you'll almost make him who you want him to be, not who he's best to be. So I think, and then what Fizdale did with Mike Conley. Mike Conley also struggled at scoring at the basket. One, because he's smaller. Another thing is like he doesn't argue about calls. He doesn't get calls. He shot 37% at the basket. His first year under David Fizdale, he went up to 62%. His scoring went up, I believe, 5 points a game under Fizdale. That's what Fizdale said he wants to bring to Mudiay. This is the first coach that Mudiay has ever had that actually believed it. Mike Malone, when he first got him, said that I think Mudiay could be a good point guard, but we need him to actually become more consistent at shooting the ball. What? That's not his skill. And the reason that Jamal Murray became the point guard over Emmanuel Mudiay is what? Jamal Murray's a sharpshooter. Mike Malone wants shooters. His claim to fame is spread offense. Mudiay would never fit in that. The same thing that Jeff Hornacek said about Mudiay. Mudiay is an extremely natural, talented player. When he starts to think about it, we start to see his inconsistencies. If we could get him to naturally play the game, his natural talent will take over. He's that talented. He could pass people open. But when we start to tell him to do this, do that, it's clearly he starts to think, and he struggles out there. And that's what we're looking at. And Jeff Hornacek said this. Jeff Hornacek has been known to be almost like a point guard whisperer. Goran Dragic had his best years under Hornacek. Fucking Bledsoe had his best years under Hornacek. Trey Burke has screamed Hornacek. Jared Jack just had his best year under Hornacek. Hornacek Hornacek was also a combo guard. That's what he did as a player. One of the better ones. Played aside Kevin Johnson. Played aside John Hornacek.
John Stockton.
Yes, I'm sorry. John Stockton. Sorry, So he played. So he understands how to develop a guard. So when he's talking about how to develop Frank Ntilikina, Emmanuel Mudiay, Trey Burke, Hornacek knew what he was doing. He was being right about that. What Perry and Mills are saying is the reason they're replacing Hornacek was because they want a defense-first team. That is not Hornacek's skill set. Hornacek will admit and say, that's not what I am. Like, I know offense. I know how to build a good offense, but I know how to make an adequate defense. A defense that will get my offense going. Whereas Mills is saying, no, we want...
Which was showcased in the beginning of the season.
Facts. When they had all their players together, they played a very good brand of basketball. Jeff Hornacek's a very good mind. I still think he's a very good head coach. But for what Perry and Mills want, that is not the guy. And it's simply for to have a successful organization, management, coach has to all be on the same page. They have to all align with the same vision.
Only way it works.
It is what it is. So Hornacek is just a curse that but Fizdale fits everything that they want. So I think it should work. To the point of, and then the last point I want to make to Mudiay is that Fizdale said that his last 4 weeks before he got hired, he had worked with he went to Warriors practice and watched how Steve Kerr does his thing. And he said he also learned under Larry Brown for 2 weeks because he wanted to learn how Larry Brown did those Detroit Pistons defenses. So he said he learned for 2 weeks. And while he was talking to him, Larry Brown was talking the praise of Emmanuel Mudiay because Larry Brown is the coach that wanted to recruit Emmanuel Mudiay. He was the one that actually recruited Emmanuel Mudiay out of high school. Emmanuel Mudiay was a #1 high school prospect out of high school in Texas. Larry Brown had recruited him to SMU. But then Emmanuel Mudiay decided to go to China and go professional and forego college. Larry Brown said he understood, but Larry Brown even said when the Knicks first traded for Emmanuel Mudiay, if a coach would actually really get into Emmanuel Mudiay and actually develop him because he's never been developed for his skill set, I feel like he can be the best point guard in the NBA, and that's what Larry Brown said.
I seen.
So now I'm just going off of what. So now I'm just saying for the whole Fizdale and the connection. So when Fizdale came in, he was like, I just spoke to Larry Brown about this kid Mudiay. So now I know through Larry Brown what we need to do with this kid. So I'm already telling Knicks fans, like, when y'all saying that y'all need to trade and get rid of Mudiay, that Scott Perry just did something that nobody's even talking about. He went out and traded for Mudiay, got basically a 7th pick in the draft that was, most people thought might have been the best. He was a #1, he was talked about as a #1 pick before he went to China. And if he didn't went to college, most likely he would have been the #1 pick. So now, Perry went out and got this player, got him for a 2nd-round pick. That's a steal. Has him for 2 years on a rookie contract. That's a steal. Then he went out and got the coach that actually would know how to actually develop not only Mudiay, but Porzingis and Ntilikina. He's had success now with Gasol and Chris Bosh. Both had to learn how to become stretch bigs in this league under Fizdale. Porzingis is the new version of this era. And now you got Ntilikina, like, whereas like Fizdale, if anything he's known for developing guards. And who's the guy that he just brought in with him? Nick the Quick Van Exel. So I'm just saying, like, I think Mudiay, if anybody, can benefit from this bringing in. I think Mudiay might, next year, you might see Mudiay a lot more like,
Oladipo?
Yes. Exactly like Oladipo. Exactly like Oladipo.
So I feel like he got that big jump. I just know when I seen Mudiay playing that African game, that's when I was like, this boy really does have talent. And like how it brought to what you brought up about the non-thinking. You like almost like celebrity games like that. You're not thinking. It's not real. You're just playing. Yeah. So when you see him when he's non-thinking, you see his decision making just seems so much better, so much fluid in that game compared to I guess here with the. So I guess it depends how you work him out. I think it'd be dope to see.
And like,
it'd be exciting to see.
Like he's a true point guard. So it's not like he'll go out there and get his. Like a player that could go out and get his will eventually find their way. Mm-hmm. Where a player like Mudiay is dependent on system and who he plays with. Mm-hmm. Because he's a natural passer first. So he needs to adjust to who he's with. So now he's never had a coach. It's like same with Trey Burke. I feel like Trey Burke is another player that now will benefit so much from Fizdale because he's never had a coach that developed him for him. Mm-hmm. And the same with Victor Oladipo. Oladipo had like 2 different coaches in Orlando. They got traded to another place with OKC. And he was like, oh, he looks like he could be really talented. He's a second pick in the draft. But he's had 3 different coaches in his first 4 seasons. When did he get a chance to develop as a man? Not only as a player, as a man.
Another coach in Indiana.
Yeah, name is Miller. But Nick Miller was the assistant when I think Oladipo. No, he wasn't in Indiana. I'm sorry. That's another thing. But now he got Nick Miller. Nick Miller's a former point guard, a former guard that can now embrace what Oladipo is, a playmaking guard. Mm-hmm. Give him the ball.
Let him work. So, yeah.
Let him grow up. We'll see what happens with the NBA playoffs. Another great change of pace sports, alternative views, best urban talk on the entire world, you know what I mean?
Factor.
You know what I mean? Little shout out to Meek Mill for, getting out. Shout out to Drake for dropping his album soon.
Oh, shout out to, not even shout out, but Michael Jordan out here having jerseys sold for $50,000.
Yikes!
Woo!
50 racks for
his jersey. Last one jersey from Washington. Not even the Bulls.
Wow. 50 racks, man.
50 racks.
Shout out to MJ. Shout out to Carmelo Anthony. I just want to show that out there. It's New York. I'm not letting that go. Oh, lastly, as far as NBA talk, I give cool. Wow. Since we talk NBA, I don't know when we get back in there again. I just want to quickly give pre-lottery because the lottery is going to happen in a couple of days, and a lot of players, a lot of teams are going to be excited about where their team whoever gets that number 1 pick, second pick, or third pick, should be pretty excited. So I'll quickly give you the top 5 players and who they are. Number 1 pick out of this entire draft will be DeAndre Ayton. He's a center. That kid's going to be phenomenal. The second player I have is actually Mohamed Bamba. He's going to be a better version of Porzingis. I'm going that far. That kid is special. The third player I have is Jaren Jackson Jr. He might be the second coming to Chris Bosh. The fourth player I have in the entire draft, Marvin Bagley III out of Duke. To me, he reminds me of a Kevin Garnett, Michael Beasley kind of player. Then number 5, though, the top 5 list, Luka Doncic. He's a big-time player out of Europe, probably the best international player this year. He's what I would consider a 6'8" Goran Dragic. That is exactly what his game is like. But those are the top 5. There's a few more other. Matter of fact, I'll go through 6 through 10 so you get a little quick idea. Number 6, I have Colin Sexton. He's a point guard. I think he'll be the next best point guard out of this draft. Very aggressive, a lot like Eric Bledsoe is his comparison. Number 7, I have Mikal Bridges. He comes out of Villanova. He's the best defensive wing player in this entire draft. He'll be compared to Otto Porter Jr. That's a lot like who he is, or Paul George, because he actually is a sharp shooter, but he's an elite defender. Can block shots, can steal. Elite on-ball defender, 6'7" with a 7'2" wingspan.
He had a good tournament too.
Very good tournament. They actually, I believe, won the championship too. Yes, they won the championship. Yes.
He was a leading scorer, I think.
Number 8, I have Michael Porter. He was once considered the number 1 prospect in his entire draft, but he had a back injury that forced him out for his freshman year. Very talented player, very talented offensive player. His offensive swag is kind of similar to I call him a rich man's Tobias Harris. That's what his game is like. Some compare him to Kevin Durant a little bit. I think it's a little bit far. But a rich man's Tobias Harris. That's really where he's at. Offensive star. But we'll see what happens. Number 9, I got Trae Young. A lot of people want to compare him to actual Steph Curry, which is to me is a horrible comparison. The best comparison is former Sacramento King point guard Mike Bibby. That's an excellent comparison because he's a good shooter and a very good passer, but he's on the smaller side. That's more like Mike Bibby. Mike Bibby was one that would take any shot, was a very good shooter, was known for the big shots, and was a good passer, but was not the most athletic player. And if you look at Trae Young, his size, his stature, he's 6'2" with a 6'4" wingspan. He's not the greatest athlete. Whereas, Steph Curry is a great athlete. I don't understand why people seem to understand that or fake that. Steph Curry is 6'3" with almost a 6'7" wingspan. And he's an athlete. He can dunk the ball. He grew up around athletes. There's a big difference in that. People cannot punk Steph Curry. Whereas with Trae Young, he's small. He's going to be a weakness. But yeah, my comparison is Mike Bibby on that. Number 10, also clear it off, Wendell Carter Jr. out of Duke. He reminds me of a more defensive Greg Monroe. Al Jefferson, but he actually can play solid defense. He's a two-way player, but he's slick in the paint. Has slick post moves, but can also rim protect. So it's hard to really have a player to compare him to right now in the league. But like I said, a more defensive savvy Greg Monroe. Now the top 10 prospects, as we have the draft lottery is gonna come up next week. Let's go Knicks. I hope we get the number 1 pick and we draft Mo Bamba to create the most ridiculous twin towers we've ever seen in the NBA. Like Akeem Olajuwon and Ralph Stevenson.
We'd be sure enough to see for these names to be called and see what the respectful teams that picked them.
Right.
We'd love to see.
Right, but like another great show here.
Yes, indeed.
Y'all take it easy till next time we get on it. Change your pace sports. I'm your host Kay with your co-host Mouze.
Take it easy. We out.